Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Primllife podcast. I don't think you guys will know who the man I have on is today. I don't think he's actually shown his face anywhere on the internet.
I mean, by the time this comes out, I think I'll have done my face reveal, but this is the first podcast where you're seeing my face, plain and simple.
I think when the viewers noticed their testosterone increased 20% from hearing that your voice, they probably attributed it to the Blood and Rain podcast, but how's it going, man?
It is a pleasure.
This is incredible.
It's a pleasure.
I've been, since the first one, I remember after we recorded our first podcast, I remember just sitting down and been like, wow. I knew what I had to do with the course, the alterations that I had to make to like my lifestyle. I knew what I was doing right, what I needed to focus on more, and what I was doing wrong. And I was like, I'm gonna bring this guy again in the future. This is incredible. And then it was
that's deeply humbling to hear. I'm really glad.
Oh no, it's such a blessing to bring you on and to first hear it myself, but also be able to get it to you guys, to everyone who's listening. Like, I am so blessed to be here today, and every single time we've talked before in the past, or I've gotten advice from you, it is always a blessing. So
it's always a blessing, honestly, to be on your podcast, man. It's a blessing to have you on mine. I got a lot of DMs from people hearing your story in my podcast.
That's incredible.
Your young journey of strength, your young journey of faith too. Guys like you, Neo Libertate, Evil Academy, you young cats, man, like this far ahead of gives me hope. I tell you that every single time, but it genuinely gives me hope. And it makes me push harder, honestly, because like, all right, what am I leaving behind? Okay, I know I got some guys behind me who are gonna help carry on what I'm trying to build, not for me, but for everybody else.
Yeah.
For God and for everyone else. So it's like, all right, cool. There's reinforcements on the way, like you, man.
Well, that's incredible to hear. It is awesome to be able to have conversations. Like, I feel like so many people, they confine themselves to one group of people who just kind of reinforce their values. Mm-hmm. But to have people like you on who actually like change my mind on various things, who present new arguments for things that I just kind of took for granted, it's a blessing to have that, to be able to have parts of your life pointed out that could be better. I never want to live in an echo chamber.
Yeah. And
I've certainly gotten so much better from every single one of the men that are like us, mm-hmm. you especially on the podcast, to be able to deliver it and talk about things that we're all working to get right. None of us are where we want to be. We're just slowly pushing each other and ourselves further every single day to be the men that we're called to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, God made you a man, first of all, right? Yeah. So it's like you're going to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And what potential can be taken from that? So from the fact that you're a man, to certain attributes, the places you were brought up, the people you're surrounded with. Speaking of attributes, so physically, creatively, mentally, what gifts you have spiritually too. Like some men really have the gift of leadership or deliverance spiritually. Some men are attuned to lifting absurd amounts of weight at a young age, like you. Some guys are attuned to kicking people in the face, like me. Some guys are really good at choking people out. Like they're just, they've got those physical gifts, and it's actually how we use them to better society, to better our fellow man. So that's what it's here for, man. That's why you do what you do. That's why I put the work out for the longest time anonymously that I put out. So it's an honor, man.
100%.
Actually, it is surgical.
Yeah, no, literally. And so the funny thing was that created tightness in, I think, one of the obliques, external ab muscles that I have and whatnot, which then led to the lower back. And so when I was deadlifting the other day, doing the 3x3 again, something tweaked. I'm not injured, but something tweaked. And so it's just something where it's like anytime I do anything with my back, I feel like I can still train and whatnot, but it's just I had to ease off of everything. So, and I hate having to go off programming, but I switched the upper body day to yesterday.
The pull day?
Yeah, the pull day. I switched the pull day. And I was originally going to do legs today, but just based off of how I lifted. So I'm a manager at Chipotle.
Oh, really?
Incredibly liberal, super liberal. It's awful. And most of the people, it's such a godless place.
How do you not kill yourself?
It's hard. And one of the coworker who tried to kill themselves was my other manager at Chipotle. So it sounds like it's out of a book, honestly, at this point. But
yeah.
Anyways, so I was lifting 10 pounds of chicken. I was like, ooh. And that was today.
Oh, that's not good.
It's not good at all.
That's not good. Yeah.
It's one of the things where I'll literally just have to stretch. I think it's just tightness. Because, I had debilitating lower back pain in the summer. So, I was deadlifting. I was doing 475 for, a 5x3. It was really, and I was pulling conventional, and it should have been really easy. But on one of the reps, something slipped, and I couldn't walk for like 4 days. So I'm literally like pulling myself around. I remember like I went to get Taco Bell to make myself feel better after the workout, and then I ended up throwing it up, and then falling in the shower, and not being able to get up for like 2 hours. So it was just one bad thing after the other. Anyways, that injury has like kind of persisted. It'll like go away, and then I'll be benching, and then it'll like reignite again. And I don't even think it's lower back based. I think it's some other muscle that's contributing to an incredible tightness, because I'll do a stretch.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of it, but I'll go on my, like in a push-up position, and then I'll just do like a sissy, like one of the girl push-ups.
Yeah.
And it'll stretch everything out, and the pain will disappear completely.
So, just like from what you're telling me, it kind of sounds like something having to do with tightness in the psoas, and on one side.
You know that like one machine for like the psoas that's like $60 or $80?
Oh, the psoas?
I think that's it.
I have one. It's amazing. It's like you're shivving your psoas.
Someone left one at the athletic club, so I used it.
Yeah.
Pain went away.
Exactly.
And I'll do like ab exercises to warm up with like a lot of leg raises and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that area will get stretched out, and there'll be very little pain, if any. So it's one of the things where I think I'll just have to get really good with warming up, actually really warming up. Because like for a while I just like
it's like what is that?
Yeah, what is warming up?
You don't go straight to just deadlifting 500 like.
I would though. So I would.
Yeah, no. Trust me, I get it. I would have a half-hour break from bartending. I would not an hour break. I would get an Uber 15 minutes to the gym, train for a half hour, then get an Uber 15 minutes back and go straight back to bartending. And it'd be like one of the kettlebell workouts.
Oh my gosh.
Like the one where you never let go. So it's like 20 minutes of swings and then that 10-minute thing. And I get back and I'm like just chomping, like I crushed 2 bangs and did that. And then I went to the Greek joint that was like on the corner and ate an absurd amount of lamb. And then
crazy.
Yeah. I understand. Like,
you get that like warm feeling to where you're awake, but you can just feel your central nervous system just falling apart. You know what I'm talking?
Fried. Yeah.
You feel like flu symptoms like onsetting onto you, and by the end of your day, you're like visions blurring and whatnot.
Yeah,
like you're just so. It's crazy.
Dude, I don't know. I was thinking about this earlier. The night Trump got elected, I remember I was sick as a dog, and I insisted on doing this barbell complex where it was like working with 355, and it was a 7x7, but it was like you do 7 reps on the squat rack and then 7 deadlifts right after. So it's like now it's a 7x14, and I was like sick as a dog. Like when I finished, and I had to spar after, and then like Trump got elected. My best friend's freaking out because he was still kind of liberal at the time. He's driving. It's like midnight. I was like, be sick for like 3 weeks, and I was sick for 3 weeks. It was horrible.
The one period of time when I deadlifted, I think it was 14 times, and like
I remember you telling me about that.
It was literally every day, or like 2 times a day. So like the number, it was definitely over 12. It was months. I had fatigue for months after that, and it was awful. Like just flu symptoms for that much long time. Like I didn't know I could feel that bad. And then like once I finally got, I think I took like a week off or something, and then I just kind of went away, which is nice. But I was
rest. I don't
remember,
know about that, man. Like yeah.
I would always go to the gas station, just get 3 bangs that I drink on the way to the gym, just to be able to get in the gym.
That's it. It got to the point where I'd like have a bang and then fall asleep. Like that's how terrifying.
Yeah. So your body, so it blocks. So there's something called adenosine in the brain. Adenosine is actually something that builds up as we stay awake through our day that puts us to sleep at the end. And caffeine actually blocks the receptors completely. Problem with that is your body knows that something's being blocked that shouldn't be blocked, so it creates more adenosine receptors. And so you literally have more of a propensity to get tired as you drink bang and get addicted to bang and whatnot. And then also too, problem with caffeine and other stimulants, amphetamines and whatnot, is they produce dopamine. Taking a nootropic that allows you, like, gives you the ingredients is different because it's giving you more fuel for that.
Interesting.
It's almost like trying to. I don't even know the correct analogy for it. You're forcing your body into a place that it shouldn't be at when you take. Have you heard of DMHA or DMAA?
Oh yeah.
When you take DMHA or DMAA, you're literally taking something so chemically similar to meth.
This explains a lot.
It really does, and your body I think Primal Thrive. He made a few guides on dopamine and whatnot. Dopamine is everything for us.
It is. It's
literally dopamine influences our testosterone.
Yeah.
It literally is motivation. When we're motivated, that's dopamine working, and when you deplete that by taking meth, quite literally, you're screwing with some really important stuff. And that's why so many people who take Adderall, which is pretty much, it's incredibly similar to meth and cocaine. Have you noticed what they are like when it like wears off? Instantly down.
They're a corpse now.
In addition, I mean, they can't get hard because all the vasoconstriction that happens.
That sucks.
Yeah, no, I did a video on it actually. Like pre-workout can give you erectile dysfunction.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's not healthy. And I think there is some like my opinion because I
feel lucky because I like drink so much. Like pre-workout for like so long, and I don't have these.
You're off that train. It's one of the things where I think my opinion on it's a little bit different. Like I think I understand why people take protein instead of like eating a steak and whatnot. I understand why people take a pre-workout before going to the gym, but also they should consider like, would I be better off of it? And sometimes the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to be as reliant on as few things as possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, like that's the big part of the programming too. I mean, like I was doing this while I was doing this while I was sleep deprived, and it was still working. Like how stress proof are your methods? Mm-hmm. Like the reason why I gravitate towards methods that are used by soldiers as opposed to athletes is because athletes are pampered. Oh, yeah. It's like, I'm a professional athlete. I got, with LeBron James, Russell Wilson, they pay millions of dollars a year to take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. That's great. If you're a fighter, you're not starting with this great contract. You're fighting in some terrible place, right? You're probably working another job, maybe probably 2 jobs, and you were preparing months after months after months after months to throw bones at another man and have him throw bones at you for 15 minutes. You may make some money off of it. You may outpoint him in the fight, but you don't finish the fight. The judges give it to the other guy. You don't get a second chance. So it's like, I prefer methods that I know are not going to break. Like, soldiers use it. That means, they've been up for 3 days fighting and it's still working. That's effective.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the variables that we have in place, like listen to part of the audio that you sent me. I liked it. I want to go back. Its problem is like I don't have any time anymore.
What audio?
The one with nature pills.
I just released. I forgot. Yeah, thank you for.
Yeah. So did you not hear was the volume at your end just different? Because I turned it on and it was loud.
There were just artifacts. I was trying to make the audio cleaner, but I couldn't.
That's gonna take some probably more software than you have.
Yeah.
See, I have a nice 4-monitor rig in my home. Editing's a blast on it. Okay, you can it's that way overboard. But I spent $3,000 on building a computer that could handle everything for a decade more.
I see.
That
makes sense. That makes
perfect sense. Yeah. No, but I like the one part that I listened to. I have to go back. I'm gonna listen to that again.
Yeah, that was my first in-person podcast.
How was that? Is it weird?
It wasn't weird. What took some getting used to was the fact that it was my first one with 3 guys. I did one with 2 guys who were very, I don't want to say polite because you know Thumos Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a wild man, right? But he's a pretty chill guy at the same time. Same thing with Epoch Rising. So we did a podcast together, and I'd be like, all right, cool, Epoch, what do you think about this? And I was more of a moderator because I was just asking them about what's going on in Australia right now. But having 4 guys, it was kind of like I had to sort of establish, all right, now you're going to talk, now you're going to talk, now you're going to talk without saying that.
Yeah.
But then it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah. Certainly is different. The ones that are in person, it's always so much easier to be eloquent. When you're not speaking into a monitor, you have headphones that are you can't hear yourself talk fully, so your voice isn't right. It's always off. I never really enjoyed the ones that I always enjoy the ones that are done over the computer, but just the in-person ones are so much. They always go so much smoother, and it's easier to elucidate on points that are kind of hard to talk through a computer almost, and then lag and whatnot. Stan Efferding?
No,
he's the vertical diet. This dude.
Yeah, that guy. I keep hearing about the vertical diet. I know something about
it. So he made it. He was a pro bodybuilder. Also set a bunch of powerlifting records too. His total's 2,700, 2,800, while being completely shredded and the guy's a monster. But he also had the science down really right too. Mm-hmm. And I had him on the podcast a few days ago, and my Wi-Fi died 10 times. So and it's this dude's 400K followers, which doesn't mean much, but is traveling to Hawaii or various places around the world to do all these seminars and he came on to my 200 follower podcast to have all these problems happen. It was kind of disappointing, but
that's getting a guest of that caliber
I just feel more bad for him, because like I brought someone else on and like I wasn't able to fulfill on my side of things. So that's why in person is better, because there's no Wi-Fi connection that's gonna fail.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I never really had a problem speaking, speaking into a mic because of my acting background.
Oh, I bet.
So it's like me speaking at all. It's sort of like, I don't know. I just did it for so long. I've been an actor from like 6 years old. I want to say like
Crazy.
6 years old to 20 years old.
Yeah.
I did it for 14 years, and I'm only like 27, so that's kind of weird. I haven't done it in the longest.
Just like a ton of like plays and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, plays, musicals, a lot of Shakespeare. We were doing recording stuff. When you go to drama school in England, they have you prepare for film acting too.
Yeah.
So they prepare with the mic.
Remember like how intense it's when we talked about it, like the 2 years ago that we had you on the first time?
Yeah.
I remember like how intense it sounded. Like I don't think I'd want that.
Yeah, people. So when I told people like, yeah, I was at a drama school in England, they're thinking like, oh yeah, you're one of those guys who I see like at NYU or go to like an American college program. They kind of like dance around, and there are some really good American college acting programs. None of them, with the exception of Juilliard, can stack up to the UK. Like Juilliard's really the only one that's running it. Boston Conservatory too, but that's for musical theater. Some of the greatest vocalists I have ever heard in my entire life. I performed with one, unbelievable vocal technique and talent. But like the UK, it's different, man. You're in the studio 9 to 6 every day. You're in the studio 8 to 8 every day. My third term, I have 14 finals, and I was more worried about Muay Thai than I was like, oh, right, Arthur, do you have everything prepped for social dance final? And I was just like, yeah, sure. I was like, at that point, I don't want to do it anymore, so I don't really care. But it was intense. I like the militaristic aspect of it, and that's kind of what got me to go to martial arts.
I feel like that's why so many people, listen, as much as boot camp sucks or all these like training programs suck, it's like when I talk to my friends after they get out of Hell Week, it's like they hated it, but it was a ton. Like the level of satisfaction they got from just how hard they were pushing and how much they were just laser pointed on this one goal, like that's satisfying. Yeah. Like I'm gonna be honest, like I'd hate, but I would always love finals week in high school because it was just, all right, I have to give it my all. Literally, I have to give everything. Otherwise, I won't pass, or I won't do as good as I wanted to do. And there's something about guys that I've noticed to where the harder the conditions, almost like the more satisfaction.
Oh, 1,000%.
But we're seeing so many people to where it's like they're becoming outcome-oriented instead of being process-oriented. Yeah. They're not gaining satisfaction off of the intensity and the work they put in. They're gaining only satisfaction off of the result. And the problem is the amount of dopamine, the amount of satisfaction that our body releases, we're actually not geared towards dopamine, the majority of dopamine being towards the end goal. It should be as we're working towards that goal. Absolutely. That's how we should be. But we're seeing so many of these people being like, oh, I'll be happy once I have $1,000. Oh, I'll be happy once I have $1 million, this car. And they all end up depressed because they never will be.
They're all super miserable.
Oh, yeah. Every person, there's probably outliers, but 9 out of 10 people who make $100 million, who get the super yacht and stop working, they're all depressed.
No.
And how many of them kill themselves eventually?
I mean, what is the purpose for money, right? Like, what is it? I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, too, because I feel like when it comes to being outcome-oriented, there are a lot of people, myself included, who almost fell in love with the grind to the point where it's actually getting in the way of the outcome. Like, it could have been more efficient. Like, you need to constantly restructure your goals, right? So it's like, you want a good attainable goal, you want to do it as smart as possible, and you want to do it as hard as possible. And these guys say, I just want to do it smart. I'm like, no, get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do it, I want to work smart, not hard. No, I want to work as hard and smart as I possibly can. I want those two parameters, because I know that satisfaction comes from the working hard. So you have to constantly assess your efficiency when it comes to working hard. Sometimes, like, working hard for the sake of working hard, it doesn't really... You're just working for the sake of working, just like where you're suffering for the sake of suffering, right? And I've been guilty of that. So I had to, like, reassess a lot of the time. And then I went too far the other way, like the outcome-oriented. I was super depressed. I was like, I'm, like, making more money. But I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
And when it comes to money, like, for the longest time, Colin, I didn't give a flying blank. I did not care about money. Do I have enough money to train? Cool. Okay. Do I have enough money for food? Great. What did I do with the leftover money in that time of my life when I was like a monk? When I was like 4 years celibate, like, 4 years ago, Arthur, what's your life plan? House. And I was like, no. I'm gonna have a fight career. I'm going to have an illustrious fight career. If I don't die in the ring, I'm going to go be a monk and write books from a monastery. That was literally the game plan. I was not planning on getting married. So what do I need money for?
Yeah.
I need money to get by. That's it. That's all I cared about.
Fuel.
Like a lot of guys say, like, oh, I don't care. I did not. Now I'm in a different stage of my life where I'm not planning on being single. I'm planning on getting married. I'm planning on having 7 kids. I'm planning on having a homestead. I'm planning on, my NFT company, the Christian NFT company, down the line, making that a Web3 company, and a Web3 company that's a Christian company, and building churches. So now I care about money.
Yes.
But it's for the sake of a purpose. Like, that money isn't empty, like, oh, I just want, oh God, I want the Lambo. I want the land. Like, a lot of these guys are, these marketing guys. And a lot of these guru types, they're really big on, like, the Lambo and, like, the glitzy stuff. And, like, yeah, you're still miserable.
There's no satisfaction in that.
Zero.
I had a number in my mind. I wanted $500 million in the bank before I died, and only then I would allow myself to be happy. And I was never more sad than when I was working for that goal in my life, ever. The most satisfaction I've ever gotten has been in providing. And whatever, there's many different channels that goes through, whether it's content for YouTube for people to grow off of, whether it's my family, a future for them, or just overall, what can I give to someone else's life to make their day just a little bit better? I've never gotten more satisfaction than going through those avenues instead of the selfish, hedonistic, I want it all type deal, and it just always ends in like kind of ruin when you follow that.
It's a road to nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a post that I wrote October, I think, and I constantly share it because it's the most important post that I put out, and it's the mark of the truest mark of a man is who he is when he has nothing.
Yeah.
A lot of guys master this concept where they're really focused on who they are without nothing. Like if I took you and chucked you into the woods, right? You don't have your credit cards. You don't have your house. You don't have your car. You don't have any of that. You don't have any of the externals. What can you take with you? Can you speak languages? Can you train? Can you fight? Can you survive? Where are you with God?
Yeah.
Do you have a relationship with God? Do you have the bedrock to life, which is a relationship with God? You don't have that? You got nothing. You have nothing. And there are guys who get that. And then they get the externals, and then they shift their identity to the externals. So if you're going to have those externals, it's for a purpose, and you're going to be constantly going back to that bedrock of saying, like, I'm this man, I'm a servant of God, I'm a provider for my loved ones, I'm a servant to those in need, I'm someone who pushes myself at all times, who's striving for wisdom, for strength, but not for my own gain.
Yeah.
To serve God and to serve others. Plain and simple. You will be so much happier that way. When I quit my Silicon Valley job where I was making more money, I could, get off and then, like, I don't know, like, go to, I don't know what people do, like, what these techie types do with their money. I really don't. Do they like, go, like, drink a bunch of beers? Like, I really don't know, and I don't care. To be perfectly frank, I'm not knocking it if you're a techie. If you're passionate about coding, if you're passionate about marketing, that's different. But I know there are a lot of people who aren't, and they're doing that for the safe path.
Yes.
And then they're miserable, and then they're subduing themselves with some kind of escapism, whether it's TV or Uber Eats or alcohol or drugs or sex or any of those things.
Yeah.
But if you can cultivate externals without losing that internal, it's worth its weight.
100%.
You're going to be so much, like, I was much happier when I was like a bouncer in a bar back and I was starving. I was literally squatting in a place when I moved out.
Really?
Yeah, and I squatted at a place for like 2 months. So I was super happy. I was stupid happy because I knew I was like on my purpose. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to be a fighter, and I'm going to be a servant, and I'm going to be a green martyr, and I'm going to be a monk. I'm going to serve God. Like, that's what I was after. I was so happy, and I was working in a bar, and I remember people saying, like, oh man, look at Arthur. He's like super happy. He's like super happy all the time because he's not dealing with this girl drama that we're dealing with. And I was like, yeah, I don't sleep around. I don't deal with any of that. Like, my life is less complicated.
100%. There's this one woman at the church the family goes to and I go to. Her name's Mary Miller. She is blind, can't walk, tons of health problems and whatnot, but she's the happiest person I've ever met. And just because she got God right, and now she's good. It's so cool to see someone who's just so joyful, who really doesn't have much. and is constantly, being knocked down, it seems like, but always bringing forth just that love and happiness that would be very hard, I feel like, if I was just kind of thrust into that. Like you said, I try to be the man that you want to be, even if you and have you be that man it wouldn't if you had nothing, Yeah, it's one of the things where it's like I feel like most people, when they look at that, they wouldn't be. And to always constantly be pushing yourself towards that goal and not just lying to themselves, oh yeah, I'll be when the decision comes, I'll make the right one, because I feel like the path to evil, or the path of inaction, is so much easily traveled than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, the path of inaction and the path of action for the sake of action. I see a lot of guys saying action is always better. Maybe.
Yeah, it's very kind of situational.
Absolutely. Really, you need to have your reads down. You need to know when it's time to wait and when it's time to act.
Yeah.
There's a great Rodin quote, even patience is a form of action.
I like that.
So it's act, and they go down, I've been guilty of this, where my work ethic was just at my peak, and I was just constantly, I can't do anything, my willpower was just so and it got to a point where I was all right, right now I feel like I'm not actually going towards something. I'm just almost a junkie.
Yeah, yes.
Chasing the grind. It's action. I'm yeah, but where's the grand plan now? What is it I'm chasing? What's God doing? What is he shifting me towards? I've gotten a lot of things and gotten a lot of places that God wants me to go through, but now I'm
kind of rotting in place at that point.
Exactly. You don't want to be spinning your wheels.
Oh yeah.
So that's where the outcome guys are kind of right, because they're really, really terrified of spinning their wheels. I'm not terrified of spinning my wheels. I just want, if I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can, I want to make sure it's on the right path.
Yeah.
That takes constantly assessing.
100%.
Constantly assessing. So it's it's a bit of both. Men love extremes. We love extremes. We want to be we want to lift ungodly amounts of weight at all times, never sleep.
Yeah.
Hard spar all the time. Just drink absurd amounts of pre-workout. Eat that's the way we're wired, and it's great. But that control is super important.
Yeah.
Because that control is going to serve us, and that's therefore, if we're serving ourselves better, we're actually going to be able to serve others better.
Yes.
That's sort of the dichotomy of service to others. If you equip yourself better to serve others, you're going to be better service.
100%. And to kind of to be on the right path, the constant reassessing. You can't be reassessing when you are going 100%. It's very much almost like the
freight train.
Yeah, you just, the momentum is kind of hard to where you do lose focus in life. I think the times that I've been almost the most kind of off my path have been when I've been on, I don't know if it makes sense, but when I've been on the path that I think is right, and going 100%, I almost was off path because the reevaluation wasn't happening because I was kind of blind to all the other variables, the addiction, the dopamine addiction, the grind addiction. It's
the best addiction too. It's a wonderful addiction.
Because everyone tells you it's great. You get compliments from the people around you.
Oh, totally.
It feels really good because stuff like that is rewarded in society. But you also start to kind of lose yourself a little bit, and it's easier to kind of fall off while lying to yourself and saying you're on the right path.
Yeah, he's what am I doing this for?
Yeah, exactly.
Am I doing this for these high fives?
Yes.
Oh God, look at him go. I got so caught up in that. I really did. I was I'm just the king of the grind. I got all these. And everyone knows it too. But yeah, I mean, that's again, that's work for the sake of work. That's suffering for the sake of suffering. Yeah. That's spinning your wheels, right? So, sometimes you gotta relax a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Take Sunday off. Go to church.
You gotta be
meditate, ponder, pray, journal. Right. You're gonna put things down in your journal that you'd be wow, I knew this is kind of my back of my subconscious, right? And now this is the forefront. It's now I know where I need to go.
What time of the day do you usually write at?
I get this question a lot, man.
Personally, for me, I don't do any writing, and every single time I see you post on something that is writing based, I'm shit, I gotta do that. Yeah. But where do you begin? What thought do you put down?
That's a really good question.
And why? Why would someone want to journal too?
I mean, the answer to why someone should want to journal is pretty easy. It's because it's probably the fastest way to process things. So it's you had this amazing day, right? I'll take, I was telling you earlier before we started recording, I typically despise my birthday. I'm my birthday, whatever. But this last year of 2021, like I had an amazing birthday, and so many things happened, spiritually, physically, that I was like, I need to process this. I want to make sure like this doesn't sort of like escape me. Like I want to make sure that this life-changing day wasn't just a day that I'm going to look back in the past. No, it's like where things got oriented towards a better direction, towards something higher. Like I got closer to God. I want to stay there. I don't want to get further away. So the way I process that the fastest is by writing it down. When you write it down, that is literally coming out of your brain, into your hand, into the pen, into the ink, onto the page, and you're seeing it's like, okay, that's literally what I went through, and that's right here, and I'm staring back at it. It's solidified in the mind.
That's fascinating. It's really cool that you say that, because I've had days where the most amazing things have happened. I remember there was one, it was probably like a year and a half ago. I remember I had like a few days out from a powerlifting meet. I went to church, then I went over to this pastor's house who owns a gym, and we recorded this incredible podcast where he talked about his story, how he was addicted to porn, opioids, lost his family, lost his house, and how he got God and got to the church and the gym. Incredible story. And then I went and trained with him, met all these really cool people. And then I remember visiting my girlfriend. And the whole day was such a bunch of incredible things. It didn't feel tangible. Like it almost felt like it was a dream after the end of it, and I didn't really have there was no processing what I learned, what I'd gotten from the day, and it was just kind of done at the end of it. Even though all these incredible things happened, and I didn't really have like a way to kind of get them into like the long-term memory and kind of reflect on it all. It was interesting. I feel like writing could have really solved that problem.
Absolutely. Processing is important. You want to talk about efficiency? I think of this sort of like technique-wise from Muay Thai, right? So a lot of guys, when they want to build technique from martial arts, they'll get into a gym for, 4 hours, and they'll drill it a million times really, really fast, jacked up on caffeine. And they'll be really surprised that it didn't actually sink in. Like, if they called out, they called out jab line, they called out net viper, they called out detoi, they called out jab long, these are all the names that we named or combinations back in my gym in San Francisco. They drilled it so many times in that weird, like, kind of intense sequence, and you'd think they'd have it, and they don't. They didn't process it properly.
Yeah.
So, like, what I try to do is throughout the hour, I light shadow box reps. So, I have a spreadsheet. Okay, this week I'm going to do, 1,000 jab longs. I'm going to do 1,000 Dutch rudiments. I'm going to do 1,000 detoys. And, I'm doing them throughout the day. So it's, literally never leaving the brain.
Mm.
And it just sinks in so much faster that way.
Yeah.
So it's processing is efficiency, right? And the people who were really good at studying in school, like back in high school, they were like, I'm going to study a little bit here, I'm going to study a little bit there. And then let's cram the night before. Yeah. And the guys who cram, they'll probably be able to spit it out in the test, and then they'll forget it.
Oh, yeah. Nothing is records the long-term portions of the memory at all.
Absolutely not. Yeah. I mean, if you're just trying to go to school to pass some tests to get a degree, I guess, cool, whatever. If you actually want to learn, no, you're going to be kind of constantly at it.
So I got my degree probably 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember a single thing I did. I can't tell you what classes I took, what I learned. I did really good.
For high school or college?
College.
But you graduated college? How old?
I only got an associate's degree. 19.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I got in a year and a half, year and a quarter-ish.
Okay.
Yeah. Just being a little bit ahead of things in high school.
Nice. That's good. I was not ahead of things.
But it didn't benefit me in any other sense that I have a degree now, unfortunately, because there was I was very outcome-oriented. I did not care how I got it. I just wanted to get it, just so I had it. And so, I didn't really take any time to care besides just, performance. There was no reflection on anything that I learned. There was no applying it to anything. I learned this now. I did really good on the test. Who cares? It was almost like this cold. There was no there was no reflection at all when it came to it, and it did not benefit me at all, besides the degree. And I feel like most people who do high school, who do college, unless they're truly passionate about it, kind of have that mindset.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, honestly.
Education system. I feel like it could be. I kind of have mixed feelings with the education system. It's actually based off of, I think it was the Prussian military training, what they would do to get people ready for war and whatnot. So I think when it comes to getting people to follow the set schedule, it's really good. In some spaces, you get people who just kind of reject the idea of any authority. And I don't really know if I could do better myself. I feel like you look at something, it's really easy to be like, oh yeah, it's shit. To be gone with the system.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's perfect at all, too, but education. Like I don't think it's serving our youth at all.
I mean, there's a whole other like sociological,
I know.
It's conspiracy theory conversation, but I mean, like if you just look at the details, like the undeniable details of it, it's like, why is so much of it sitting down? Why is it so much of it auditory or visual? Nothing's kinesthetic, especially for men, like for boys, like. Stay still in your seat. I'm trying, like, you know, and everyone's like, "Oh, he has ADD, he has ADHD." It's like,
yeah,
no,
that's what they tried to do for me. I remember they told my parents to go to the doctor so I could get ADHD medication.
It just drug the kids so they can fit the system better.
Yes.
Are we trying to serve the kids, or are we trying to serve the system? They don't know the answer. It's like a lot of people think it's really malicious, right? People don't even know what is outside the system. So some people, they're not inherently malicious, you know, trying to drug people's kids. But they've just been told so much, they've been conditioned so much that if someone doesn't fit inside the system, well, must be something wrong with them, you know, medically, psychologically. So let's get them the quick fix, right, to do so. I mean, it is inherently evil, but a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to like look at an action or a person and just, you know, there's a very big difference between actually someone who's evil and oblivious. Almost.
Yeah, or lazy.
And I think that's what we see a lot in society. It's like, is this person, and it's not good either way. Like it's not good.
It's definitely a horrible outcome, right?
Yeah.
But the process of how you get there.
You know, there's been family members in my life that have done and said or had some really crazy beliefs, and it's like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to look at them and like, are you evil or oblivious? Because I don't know. It's just crazy things that are becoming like the mass psychosis that we just see everywhere now, where it's like people believing crazy things. And for people like us who are a little like stay from who can view it from the outside, it's crazy to them. But to the people who are living inside of it, it's like, sure, why not? This makes complete sense. I don't understand it. They're not evil people. They might be doing evil things, but they're not.
They're like they don't have any malicious intent. They're not knowingly doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
The only time, like sometimes they're knowingly doing the lazy thing or the conformist thing, and they know that they're too lazy to research it. That's kind of a gray area.
Yeah, it's kind of like putting the blinders on purpose and knowing that you have the blinders on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like, it's not quite, you know, knowing evil, but it's like, like you don't want to hear, you know. And I mean, I don't live in Oakland anymore, but like I was living in Oakland for the longest time, and like that's, you know, that might be like that, or Portland might be the most kind of crazy place in this country. You know? So it's like, I remember when, you know, COVID 1984 started, and I was like, this is clearly like not right, but I knew that like from the jump. Like I knew that from the jump. But the only reason, like, well, not the only reason, like I was taught to think critically about my father from a very young age. Yeah. But also my dad escaped communist Cuba. My mom lived through the reign of terror in Argentina. My grandfather lived under Perón. I had family that like endured the Spanish Civil War, and then family
saw all the results of people conforming.
Yeah, like lived under Mussolini. It's just like we've seen this movie before. Yes. This isn't good, you know. I would love to be wrong. Trust me, I want to be wrong, but I'm not wrong. And I've been saying that to people for 2 years now. I remember like before I left, San Francisco just decided out of nowhere, like we're doing another mask mandate, right? And like killers in my gym, like killers, are putting on masks. And I walk in, I was like, the head coach is like, he escaped Cambodia, so he understands these concepts. And I was like, I texted him, I was like, hey coach, I'm moving to Texas, you can still coach me in Texas. Like I sent him like the little update from our gym saying we wore masks, and it's just like, I'm not putting no stupid mask. I was like, all right, cool. But like even all these guys are putting on masks, and I was like, I like said in front of like the whole fight team, like, yeah, nothing says training unarmed combat like putting on a mask.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious?
It's one of the things where it seems so benign initially, and I remember like people saying, "Oh yeah, they'll never mandate a vaccine. They'll never just wear a mask. It'll all be fine." Next thing you know, the vaccine comes out and it's mandated now. Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm basically a refugee because I can't be in California anymore. Like, I can't be in my home state.
Tell the viewers what you were doing to have a job.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The madness that you went through so you could have the resources to live and train effectively, because that's insane.
I mean, effectively is
throw effective out the window.
I don't know about that, but gosh, okay. I mean, Gavin Newsom says March 2020, right? All bars and restaurants are closed. I was a cocktail bartender. I was making, I won't say it's a bit crass to say how much I'm making out of that, but I was making very good money for 30 hours a week, and I had the perfect schedule to train. I was going to train at a particular gym in the Bay Area that I wanted. And I did have this. I told you on our very first podcast together. I had this moment where I was like, "Yeah, everything's perfect, but you're not ready to bleed. Like you're not. You used to be, and now you're not, and that's got to be fixed." It was a weird moment with God. Then, like a week later, it's like, no more bars, no more restaurants, and living in the Bay Area is expensive too, man. So I had like $3,000 in monthly costs and no income. So it was like, okay, I'll take unemployment. That's $3,000 a month, and I was like, no. No, because I'm sitting here saying to people that I'm preaching to others, you do not want to be reliant on a government that does not care about you. They will feed you these little things to get you, not because they care about you, because they want you dependent on the system, more and more dependent on the system. Don't grow your own food.
They know that paying people to not work isn't a good thing, but they'll do it anyways.
Absolutely. Small businesses, go peacefully protest and have a small business. Yeah, okay. So I said it goes against every fiber of my being to take unemployment. So I don't care. I have to stay here too, just in case. I don't know what's going to happen in this country. I got to protect my mother. I can't. I came this close to moving to Texas, where things are opening back up May of 2020. I said, no, I got to stick it out. I got to make sure I'm here to take care of my mother if blank hits the fan. So I started working 2 hours each way commute to an overnight security job.
I think that was about the time that we had our first call.
Yeah.
Like that was, what was that, 2020?
2021, January 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning.
Yeah, and honestly, I started doing that July, because I worked at a Total Wine for a split second. I wanted to kill myself. I'm not gonna lie. Actually, it was like, there are people who do retail, and I'm gonna pray for them. Because I don't know how they do this. I'm not kidding. Like I can't imagine actually having to do this. Then I worked one of the bars I worked for was doing a cocktail delivery service, and that was the one guy they're paying to do that. And they said, it's just like the marketing, they had me make new cocktails. They had me, write all the text and everything, but they just didn't have enough people to market it to. They just weren't making enough money. They said, you gotta, let you go again, and then when the bar opens back up, whatever that is, you'll be the first hired. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So I started working over to security July, 2 hour commute each way, was not enough money. It still was not enough money to get by. So I took a bartending job 40 minutes from one of the few bars that opened back up in a more right-wing part of the Bay Area, about 40 minutes from San Francisco.
Yeah.
A brunch bartending job. For August until October, November, I was pulling 40-hour weekends. I was going into the security job Friday night at 10:30 at a half-hour break, right, in which I just slept. 10:30 to 7, and then I'd get on the BART, and I'd go to this other town, and I would start 10 to 5, right? And then I would go to another shift, take 40 minutes back, San Francisco, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning. I'm going back to the other town, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I'm going straight to San Francisco, 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. I think total up, not even counting the breaks. It was a 40-hour work weekend.
Crazy.
The sleep I would get is on my breaks and on the BART, on the train. That was it. I was drinking absurd amounts of caffeine when I didn't have time, literally didn't have time to cook. Some of you guys say I don't have time to cook, yes you do. I would just
time to train.
Oh yeah, I can't do squats because my knees. Okay, yeah, sure. I would buy a whole pizza from 7-Eleven, GMO hellhole cesspool pizza, and I'd eat that. And I said, you know what? There are parents in Syria burying their children right now. I don't have problems. You think these are problems? You think these are, anytime I started to kind of feel bad for myself, you think these are problems?
Yeah.
Ciao, please.
It's so much
Ciao,
worse.
please.
So much worse.
And I remember thinking that too, and I was like, you know what? I'm getting mentally tougher too. And then I started to realize you're getting more and more ready to bleed now. This is great.
You're winning.
This is great.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, good. I was like, that mental toughness you lost, you're getting it back, And like, yeah, I mean, and I came back to God because of it. I remember there's a particular song that I play off of an album literally called Sleep by a composer named Max Richter. And it was this particular song called Return. And that song would help me sleep on the bar, even though it was broad daylight, because sometimes I couldn't sleep. I'd put that on my headphones, I'd be able to sleep. And that was like kind of a lifeline God was handing me. Even though I had walked away from him, he was still trying to get me. And like that was like kind of the spark of my return to the faith. Like that's that stretch of time right there, that's when it was when I needed God most, and like he was there. And I didn't really even fully realize it. I was praying to something and I knew it was to God, but I felt ashamed that I had walked away in the first place. Yeah. So I had to do that. And then they shut down bars again in December. So I had to like grab any overtime I could at the security job just to squeak by for like those 3 months, like December, January, February. And then bars opened back up March 5th. So one of my 2 bars in Oakland opened back up. But for me to still like make money, they were only open 3 days a week. So I had to work 7 days. And I didn't realize that for 6 months, I pulled 2 all-nighters a week. And I didn't realize why I was so tired. I was expecting to train. Like, I was still training. I was training martial arts and I was training weightlifting. And I was like getting angry at myself. And this is when I started writing in Blood and Rain, started doing the podcast. Yeah. And I was doing that at the overnight security job because I'm just there on a computer staring at a monitor. I have to do like a round, like, I don't know, every 2.5 hours. And I was on top of my job, so they didn't care if I was writing or recording or, doing whatever. Researching, Soviet, like Stanislavski, not Stanislavski, that's acting. Veroshansky, there we go. Sports science papers. And so I was like, that's when I started Blood and Rain. It started, really like December 2020, January 2020, while I was going through all this. Oh, yeah. And I was just like, all right, I feel like I'm back in that essence. Like, I feel like I'm actually living that path. Like, I'm practicing what I would want to preach. All right, so I'm going to start writing. I don't think I let myself realize that I was pulling 2 all-nighters a week until, like, I put in my 2-week notice at the security job. Because then I actually thought about my schedule once, and I could go back to the other bar jobs. We working 2 bar jobs a week.
Kind of realized the total workload you had.
Yeah, I was like, why are my PR stalling? Like, why am I so tired? Why am I not bartending as fast as I usually do? I was like, what is this? I was like, oh, you're not eating enough. I was like, yeah, I'm always not sleeping or not eating enough. Who cares? Like, that's where my head was at. But like, the fact that like I even needed to go through that just to stay in my home, because people, circling fully back to what we were talking about, because the majority of the populace in California did not want to stop and actually question what the government was doing.
Oh, yeah. It's bad when the leftists close the bars down. Like,
that's pretty bad. It's like degenerates are shutting down degenerate things, making people less degenerate, but for like really degenerate reasons. Yes. So it's like it doesn't even make sense anymore.
Degenerate to the third power at that point. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like we gotta cancel out all the degeneracy. Like, are you traditional? Are you degen? Like, I don't know where we stand.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. I thought it was crazy. Like, the fact that people were fine with their churches being closed down. The fact that churchgoers were okay. It doesn't even. It really, from our point of view, doesn't make fucking sense.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, remember in the early church when you got killed for just worshiping God?
Oh yeah. Where did that happen?
I don't know. This whole 99% virus.
I just said I can't go inside.
Maybe I just gotta stay safe. I can worship God from the Zoom. Like, you gonna tell me like church on a Zoom call or YouTube, a link is gonna be the same as in person? No. Like, you really have no faith in God that He will provide and keep you healed to worship Him?
I really wish I fought harder for that at that point. Unfortunately, I was very much less developed than I am now, and I still wish I could find.
You're 19. You're fine.
Yeah,
you're so ahead of the game. You were so ahead of the game. If you were 20, I'd be like, yeah, you should have fought harder. Okay? You're 19. All right.
I wish I was more passionate about my faith during that time and just saying no. Just being no. So many people who just told you to conform or else. No. I wish I did early on. I had a lot of family members who were very much, incredibly liberal. Who were like, you're gonna do this. So I didn't leave my house for 3 months straight at one point. What? I might have gone outside to like. I remember I had I was so scared of like what my parents would say. This was like senior year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Everything had just closed down. I remember I was so scared of like what my parents would say for me like leaving the house that I'd have my friends deliver me Bang cans and put them underneath my car so I could run out at night to grab them because I didn't want my mom freaking out on me. I love my parents. Love them. They're good people, but that was where they were. Just blinded by fear, blinded by the media, oblivious to everything
That's
happened.
what's so hard about this too is like you want to vilify these people, but they're not villains.
No.
They're people.
Yes.
Like you want to get up in their face like listen, and you're like okay, like fine.
It's
like,
not as black and white as it sometimes be nice to believe it is. Like it'd be very nice to. It's blind, but it's almost comforting to look at someone and be like, "You're a bad person." And when in reality, we do bad things. Doing bad things does not make you bad. Like I've met probably one or two actually evil people in my life.
Very few, like,
Very truly evil people.
Yeah.
Most people have at least a little bit of good in them.
Mm-hmm.
They might be really turned down, but
Yeah.
has the opportunity to be like blossom and grow. Like, but very few people are evil. They might do bad things. I think, like I personally, for me, I think confining to what was out there was a very bad thing to do. Not speaking up, not practicing my faith as much as I wish I did. Like that, I'd say that was. I can't say my action was good at all, but like. I don't think it didn't make me evil. It didn't make a lot of people I know evil, but it's really easy to get that momentum in one direction to where you might actually start making some really heinous decisions. Like I think people don't understand that the path to doing terrible things is a very quick one to hop on. Scarily so.
It's like, I mean, the reason why evil wins so much is because they don't present themselves as the black; they present themselves as the gray, the sympathetic gray, or the false white, like the false light.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very small steps too.
Yeah.
Like wear your masks. Hey, get the vaccine. Now we're gonna make you get the vaccine. Now you can't talk about coronavirus and whatnot, and it just constantly elevates until actually evil like truly maybe it was very gray initially. Like we're gonna recommend you wear a mask. But then it was like we're forced, and it's just slowly pushing its way down the path to some terrible things. Now we're going to force people to get the vaccine that has surprisingly killed a lot of people. Or not even surprisingly anymore.
It's not surprising.
My buddy, he's an EMT,
and
I remember this was actually back when I was somewhat pro-vax. Like, so actually, I think for my parents' sake, I kind of like was on with them a little bit on the bandwagon of like, oh, get the vaccine, a little bit. But I remember him saying that, so he had about 80 calls of this incredibly rare heart condition that generally, statistically, you only see 1 to 2 times in your EMT career. It was his first year during all the trials of what was running, and every single person who he took that was like, it was brought up, I think, in various questioning, had gone the vaccine or a form of it that had this crazy heart condition. And you didn't see anywhere in the media at all.
No.
Terrifying.
Yeah, like so many athletes too. Sergio Aguero, who's like an illustrious soccer player for Argentine national team, Manchester City, then Barcelona. He had retired. He had like some not a heart attack, but like some kind of cardiac event happen on the field.
You saw a lot of people. There's a lot of times when like politicians would just like collapse on camera, or whatnot, or sports players like you just brought up.
Yeah. Christian Eriksen. I think a couple basketball players too.
Or people who got the vaccine and died anyways, or like the risk of like I think there was 80% of people who were in the hospital for coronavirus had the vaccine.
Yeah. No, it's like I think it's an even higher statistic now, but like people are still like, but what? But you really gonna keep you're really gonna keep defending this? Like, don't do this.
And it's funny too, and I see. I would think the Republican who's 300 pounds sitting in his chair saying I'll never get the vaccine for health reasons. I'll call them a dumbass too. Like there's so much dumb on both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
Who drinks themselves to sleep every night? You're stupid. Shut the fuck up. But you see these whales of people who haven't made a single healthy choice in their life get the vaccine for my safety, for my health.
I'm at risk. You're putting me in danger. How dare you?
How dare you? And I was at a family gathering. I'm not going to say whose family gathering I was at because I don't want to offend any of those people, unfortunately. But I'm just listening to they're trying to figure out ways. They're talking amongst themselves how they could end up getting a 5th booster. How they could convince the doctors to get another shot. Like what loophole they could use to get another jab. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there just like perplexed Like, how has it come to this? As they eat their fried shrimp and mac and cheese. I'm not even joking. That was on the menu that night.
I don't know how, like, I like somehow maneuvered my way. I was working for a bar that I really, really respect. I mean, it's like top tier, and these are like just, I don't drink, I hate bars, but like reaching that level of bartending, like being asked to work at this place, I was like, okay, like that's actually an honor objectively when it comes to the trade. Like I was truly honored.
Yeah.
And the people I deeply respect and never wanted to be confrontational with because of that.
Yeah.
And some of the kindest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
But they were like, everyone's getting their booster. It was like this, like December when the Omarion variant was happening. I know what I said, Omarion, not Omicron. They like everyone got their booster and they were just down for the count, and then they got the Omarion variant, and I was the last one to get the variant, but I wasn't vaccinated, and I wasn't down for like a week and a half. I was down for maybe like 2 days. And still went to work. And I remember like that brand of COVID 1984 in general, I just remember like I didn't feel like that like sick. I just felt like this like absurdly overwhelming fatigue.
Yeah.
And like I had like 2 bangs. I was like on a 10-hour bar shift, and typically it was like this particular bar shift was like a Tuesday. It was really slow. The guy I worked with was like, he drank a lot, was kind of a hedonist and really happy-go-lucky, and I was sort of like there was a well on this side and a well on this side, facing different parts of the bar. And so typically he'd be like, having shots with people, like people who work in the industry. And typically I'm just like kind of brooding and like writing poetry or analyzing poetry or like seeing a fight breakdown. I was like,
I don't know if I'm having a podcast with Blood and Rain or Batman at this point. Guess that's a good thing though.
I mean, there are worse things to be compared to. But like that's literally the way I am. Like a lot of people say like, yeah, I'm a big loner type. Like, no, I spent a lot of time alone. Like, this is me doing
Rather
this.
be alone than with half stellar company.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, I want to be thinking about the things that I want to think about. Don't talk to me about sports ball. Don't talk to me about Kardashians. Don't talk to me about any of that, man. And so, yeah, like, typically I just sort of, like, be, like, kind of brooding, just, like, constantly, like, pondering poetry.
Were you too tired to write that night?
It wasn't, like, it just blended in. Yeah. Like, they didn't know anything was wrong with me because they're usually like that, but I just remember, like, staring at the floor and being like, I'm so tired. I'm so unbelievably tired. Like, even just making a drink, I was like, okay, this is messed up. Like,
something's not right.
Yeah, but I'm like, and I'm not vaccinated, right? And I'm feeling this way. But I understand why you vaccinated guys. You guys who got the booster are like literally down. That you're taking those full 10 days not because you're supposed to, because you needed it.
It doesn't even make sense. Like I feel like we could talk about how crazy the world is for hours at this point.
Yeah.
We know it. I feel like the people who are actually going to like take the value of the conversation know it. So like that point,
yeah.
The 3 hours aren't needed. But
definitely not.
Definitely not. But it was crazy. Like you said, I probably had 20 people. My younger brother got vaccinated too. He's 14 or something. He was out for so he literally had to take. I remember his throat got so bad to where he was prescribed. He took prescribed OxyContin so he could sleep, and he's vaccinated. And 14 too. So I got 14, 15. I don't really. I probably should know this, but it's
next generation's looking great, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. To sleep, because it got that bad. I remember for me, I worked 10 hours at Chipotle. Who cares? 10 hours in a good work environment. I was I opened the truck that morning, so I was there at 6 in the morning. Worked with good people. I remember towards the end of the day, I was just really cold, no energy and whatnot. Then I went to, I think I trained. Went to force myself to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And then my girlfriend accidentally put her hand on the stove, and so she actually has this really cool scar now, where it's like this. Oh, she has a stove.
So that must have split your heart in two seeing that.
I felt so bad. So I went up there to take care of her. I went up to Whitewater to take care of her and to just help a little bit. And I remember just her having to I remember not being able to sit up. It was after I was up for 24 hours that day, just being messed up. And then I woke up in the morning, went and trained again, and then I'm driving on my way home, and I was like, this probably isn't right. I remember I was falling asleep at the wheel kind of. I took the test.
Something's probably wrong.
My mom subscribed me to like get like rapid tests. Like the government was giving away rapid tests, and so they showed up on my doorstep, and I was like, guess we'll see. I was like, test positive, and it's like, okay, I have COVID. I went on a run later that day, which was stupid. I actually should have rested.
Same thing. Gas. I did the same thing. I was like, someone was like, what do you recommend, like, for like training while you're sick? Like, train, always train. Just do it anyway.
Yes. I went on like a 45-minute run, just to do something. It's like, who cares? I'm sick. It wasn't the smartest decision probably for recovery, but I just wanted to do something.
Yeah.
I took 2 more days off, and then I was back in the gym, I think, like on my 4th day. And like hitting PRs.
Literally, I was like fatigued for like 2 days. I was like, cool. And I like went back in the Muay Thai gym. I was like, really great. Yeah. And like there were guys who like actually took the full 10 days and felt fine. I was like, just no one cares. Just please come train. Come on. Please come do pad work like that. I mean, it's a testament to like, you know, if your girlfriend like. If your best friend called you, said he burned your hand, yeah, whatever, man, just put some calamine lotion, you'll walk it off. Your lady, your woman, you know, your woman is like, oh, okay, that's different. You feel that in here. It's like almost like you start raising sons and raising daughters. Like a daughter trips, I'm like, are you bleeding the son? Like, get up, man. Like, are you serious? Like, if you can't crawl, then I'll come get you.
Yeah.
That's the dichotomy I think a lot of people are missing.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, absolutely crazy. It's wild. Yet everyone's still getting it, and they still thank their booster for not having worse symptoms, even though they're out for 10 days. Doesn't make any sense.
I think Fauci's a really smart man. Like, I've actually had these conversations with people, and I was just like, for a smart man, he's been wrong for a while. It's very simple. But they abandon their own logic.
Yeah. And then they attribute it to their, like, why aren't you doing it for the common good? Okay, whose common good are we talking about? Like, because there's, why are we letting people who don't care about us tell us what the common good is?
Exactly.
Shutting
by the
down
way,
gyms.
those people are now like billions of dollars richer, and you were billions of dollars as a collective people of the greater good poorer. Mm-hmm. And what is that going to do too? Like, you're talking about illness. If a family is worse off financially, they're not going to be able to buy the food that they need. They can't buy the food that they need. They're going to be more prone to illness. More prone to illness, and then they're prone to further poverty because they can't work for so many days. Yeah. Like, it's this. They don't really even. These people who think they're the champions of like the low class, the working class, or like the lower middle class, are the same people that are truly screwing them over, and they don't stop to think about it.
Yeah,
it's terrifying.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, the government does not care about us at all. Republicans, Democrats. See, I don't. When people ask me like Republican, Democrat, I have conservative values.
End of story.
End of story.
Even saying that these days, like, what are conservatives conserving?
Nothing. They're wealthy.
Exactly.
They're not even conserving it. They're growing it.
Yeah.
And what are social justice warriors fighting for? More money under the guise of social justice.
Yeah. I think the Black Lives Matter founder, she got like 4 houses.
4 houses and like stole a bunch of money from like the foundation, I think it was.
Yeah, I mean,
or
like,
it was one of the founders who like took like $2 million and spent it on personal things.
Yeah, it was like some really nice. It looked like a really nice house in SoCal. I think like Ojai or something like that. But I'm not surprised. This is what people do. Like, the people who want to do good, they really keep themselves out of the limelight. They're just gonna go find good and do it.
Yeah.
The people who like are trying to gain money from the guise of a charity, it's kind of plain as day, like how much attention they're grabbing themselves. Like your Joel Osteen types. Like people who use the church, people who use God.
The prosperity gospel.
Yeah, God wants me to have a jet. Like, you hear yourself. If you want to do good, you're going to do it quietly.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to raise awareness, you're not raising awareness for the fact that you're doing good. You're just trying to raise awareness for the good itself. You're trying to step the heck out of the way, man. Like, I just want to make sure this happens. And it's sorry.
100%.
No virtue signaling.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's awful. Yeah, I've. Do you see like some people are getting like their vaccine like number tattooed on them?
What?
Have you seen those?
No.
So like the ID number you get for like your vaccine, I've seen people like tattoo their passports on them.
Do you want to talk about training now, or like?
Yeah. This conversation's just I'm losing more faith in society as a whole.
Yeah, I think that says it all. Like, all right, let's
We still have to introduce you. I'll probably put this at the beginning, and now we'll talk about training.
Yeah, let's talk about training.
All right, so we had a brief cut right there as we discussed. We actually went back into the intro. Like we said, the best podcast just kind of begin. And so, training-wise, Blood and Train.
Blood and Train.
Blood and Train. Your business.
I mean, I guess it is a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Lifestyle.
It's more lifestyle. No, I try not to think of it as business, although that's what I'm actually trying to, make the bulk of my living on.
I think when you can when you can get resources to provide for yourself and for other people, while making the world a better place, while spreading the word of God and just becoming an overall, reinforcing the values and make people a better person. I think that's like the ultimate win in life, because you get fulfillment in all areas that are all such tuned towards the right path.
Yeah.
In a sense. Yeah. It just sounds like the ultimate way to live a happy life.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Colin, the way, I was doing Blood and Train stuff. I knew I wanted to do kind of like an online training business type thing, but I didn't really have a grasp. I had been taught all kinds of training from a bunch of different people, right? So when I started out my training journey, the first ever thing I really did was a quarterback from when I was 5 years old to when I was 14, when I decided when I went to a really preppy high school that I didn't want to play football because of the people, which made my dad very, very sad. And I started, because I was a real punk, I didn't get along with these rich kids. I ran track because it's an individual sport. I was a track athlete. And when I went to acting school in England, I started doing Muay Thai when I was 19. And that just set my world on fire. I was like, this is what I want to do all the time.
Yeah.
And then I started getting into, when I got back, to California, and I had to come back, unfortunately. I guess long-term, fortunately, but at the time I was devastated that I had to come back. There was no Muay Thai gym nearby, and I couldn't even afford it, so I could only afford to do some weightlifting stuff, and I was a novice in it. And I had one guy teach me to deadlift the first time. And, I did 3 plates the first time. I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I started searching for actual, not gurus, sages, So I was coached by a Tennessee state champion bodybuilding and strength coach. I said, I want you to coach me as a strength coach, as a fighter. He wanted me to be a bodybuilder, so he started giving me bodybuilding splits, and I was like, why is my cardio terrible?
Why do you have me on 8 different bicep exercises?
Yeah, I'm just squeezing, and he made it seem really simple too, because it was just all I needed was that deadlift squat thing where I told you about. So it's 5 by 5, except you do 5 squats and 5 deadlifts. And then it goes 6 by 6 the next time, 7 by 7 until 10 by 10, and then after that 200 rep workout, you jump 50 pounds and go back to the 5 by 5. He had me do that for just squat, deadlift, and then barbell row and bench press. And if I didn't have, or I could also do weighted chins and weighted dips, right? That was the alternative. I got really strong and I got really big really, really fast. It was 6 weeks, I looked completely different. It was absurd. But then my quads were so heavy that I was just perplexed as to why I couldn't properly low kick anymore, because I had no focus on mobility, I had no focus on athleticism, I didn't know anything.
Do you remember any of the numbers that you were lifting back then?
I wasn't going for PRs, but I got to that 10 by 10 that I got to was 375. So I was doing
squats or deadlifts?
Both. So it's I would take a set of 375 in the squat. I would do 10 reps and then do 375.
That's actually elite. That's elite.
I didn't know that at the time.
When are we going to get you to do a powerlifting competition?
I love lifting ungodly amounts of weight, but Muay Thai is that's really what I care about. So really, what I want to be is the Muay Thai fighter with the best lifts, so that I can sacrifice Muay Thai. Which, when I'm on top of, they're good. They're good. Obviously I could have gone down that road. I loved it, but I love Muay Thai more.
Yeah.
So I got really sick doing that workout. I was telling you.
Right? Imagine.
This is around the time that Trump got elected, and I was down for 3 weeks, and I think by that December rolled around, I was kind of okay. 2017, I started training with I think he's now in Bellator middleweight, who is also he's an MMA fighter, strength and conditioning expert, kettlebell expert. Completely changed the way that I thought about training. He's your goal should be to open up pathways, strengthen as many movements as possible. And we did. So he taught me the Turkish get up. He taught me.
The Turkish get up has been one of the ones that's been the most fun for me.
Yeah.
I remember after you said the 80 pounds for the 10-minute one.
Yeah.
I went for it for just reps.
Yeah.
I got 4 reps into with the 80 pounds. I just collapsed. There's a
different, man. Yeah.
There's a video of me trying to get up with it and just falling backwards. The day after, like you sent me like the try it for my best.
I tried with an 80. Yeah.
Try with an 80. Yeah.
It's
humbling.
It's very humbling. Like, I was lifting, like that stuff with the barbell I was telling you about. My first Turkish get-ups, I could only do like 20 pounds. I was like, what is this? Like, why am I so weak?
Yeah.
I didn't train the movement pathway.
One of my training partners, they could only get 5 pounds.
You serious?
Yeah. That was their max.
It's different, man, because it's anterior chain, but it's also movement, it's coordination, it's rotational. It's like, if you had to ask me, like, what's the one-stop shop movement? Like, some would say the deadlift, some would say, maybe the power clean. I'd say that's a pretty good choice. Turkish get-up's right up there, man. I treat the Turkish get-up like a core lift. Like, I actually think of it as like I want to expand it like my squat, or expand it like my deadlift, or expand it like my military press. So that was my. So I kind of gradually went to that. I got weaker at a max effort standpoint, right? I wasn't really on top of my nutrition, but like I was much more dynamic, and that was much better for Muay Thai. So I kind of had this understanding. I was like, all right, well, if I focus on more of those dynamic movements, then I'll be a better combat sports athlete too. So now let's ramp up the intensity again. So then I started. I got programming from this guy named Levi Marquardt. I saw him do a 205-pound Turkish get-up, and I was like, this is possible. I was like, I didn't even know this is humanly possible. I was like, this needs to be something that we do. But I told him, like, all right, I want to get really good at these kind of old-time strongman movements. I want to eventually get good at, I want to start doing the bent press. I want to start doing stuff on the rings, but I don't want to sacrifice, Muay Thai. And he really understood that really well. I did 2 programs with him. And then I started doing athletic training. So I started doing, like, sprints, more explosive reps, really working the stretch reflex. Then I got a lower back injury that set me back for a while. And when COVID hit, like I was telling you about with the overnight security bits that I was doing, that's when I really started to dive into sports science, because I was like, I don't want to pay a strength and conditioning coach who gets every single aspect of training and pay him an absurd amount of money. I'll just learn it myself. So I learned the principles of training from, Soviet era sports scientists, particularly that have I forget what it's called, this institute in Minsk in Belarus. So I started reading these old papers on the Soviet weightlifting system. I started reading old papers on explosive reps, old-time strongmen, effective conditioning methods that were thought up in the U.S. military, and I started to fully understand the principles of training.
Yeah.
So it's like if you came to me saying, I'm a shot put athlete who also wants to do jiu-jitsu, I would know how to program that. If you came to me saying, I'm a marathon runner who still wants to put on some kind of muscle, I'm like, all right, like this is like a very particular, like these are 2 different ends of the spectrum. It's doable, but like you got to do this.
Yeah.
I'm a jiu-jitsu guy who really wants to excel in body weight fitness. When you understand the core principles of training, then all you need to do is learn the specific exercises that are going to adhere to those movement patterns and those systems, whether they're certain muscular systems, certain aspects of the central nervous system, certain muscle fibers, how much the cardiovascular system is involved. That's when I really started to understand training. So I had all these things with the principles that I understood, and all these different methods that I was pretty sure that if I could plug them in correctly, that it would be a really dynamic form of system of training.
Yeah.
The first person I tested on, I did overnight security with a guy named Ken Smith. Shout out to you, bud. He is a semi-professional. He's 38 years old, semi-professional offensive and defensive lineman for football. I put him through 6 months of programming. He said he was battling against guys who formerly played pro or Div 1, and he was ragdolling. I was like, okay, I know that these methods, they're just tried and true. Like it's inevitable. As long as you do them, it doesn't matter how much intensity you had, doesn't matter how much food you had. Like they work.
Yeah.
They would they're used by soldiers. So I was like, okay, now I'm just gonna have a bunch of other people do programming for free, in sort of the circles that you and I run on Instagram. So Greater Myth, I don't know if you know his writing.
Yeah.
He started doing my programming for free. Neo Libertate, he's a rugby athlete.
Yes.
I kind of directly mentor Neo because he's in a tough situation, and I wish I had someone to mentor me when I was 16, 17. So.
Oh, he's that young?
He's
crazy.
He's such a good writer. Such a good
awesome.
writer. Amazing writer. And he started doing my programming. He was doing competitive rugby, and then he got called up to play adult rugby. And has been, murdering people at adult level rugby with the programming. So I was like, all right, this programming works. Like, whether you want to build muscle, whether you want to have more torque on a field sport, whether you want to have more punching power, like it works, which is cool. I didn't really, I wanted to make some money from it. I was more hell-bent on helping people than anything. I really didn't want to stop being anonymous for the sake of my writing stuff. I thought that, like, me as a writer, that if I just put out the writing without my face and it holds up, that means the writing's good.
Yeah.
You're not liking it because I can also do a Turkish get-up with, 100 plus pounds of the barbell. You're not liking it because I can kick people in the face. You're not liking it because I'm doing these things. It's just the writing. But God shifted my life in a certain direction, and that prompted the face reveal. But honestly too, Colin, when I was God kind of forced me out of the Bay Area. My last church service at Holy Virgin Cathedral in San Francisco, I was going to have my last bartending shift that day, and I was going to move to Austin. I said, all right, well, start working the training business, start working the NFT business, do online copywriting and things like that, and you eventually get into bartending. But God was very clear. He's like, this is your last bartending shift. That's it.
Wow.
You're not doing it again. I was like, okay. And on the bus ride, because it's on the other side of San Francisco, on the bus ride to get across San Francisco and to get back to Oakland, I was like, I'm going to really focus on pouring into my fellow man. Because my profession, I've helped people as a barback, helped my fellow bartenders with things in their lives. I've consoled customers through things, right? I've been trying to befit the faith they profess despite there being alcohol. But the fact of the matter is, this is predicated on me assisting you in poisoning yourself. And I just could not do that anymore. So I was like, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to have my income be on pouring into my fellow man.
Yeah.
So then that's when I came up with Blood and Train Athletes, where it's like an online training group where, I write the programming that I'd write, tailored programming. I would adjust it on the fly if you have a schedule change or an injury, adjust it around that. It's limited form checks, online coaching, mental toughness prompts, even striking breakdowns since I'm a striking athlete. I know we're doing nutrition now, and it's just in general having a brotherhood of men who are really seeking to make their training to better themselves for the sake of serving others. I was like, that is something I can get really passionate about. That is something that I can do the most good in.
Yeah.
So that's why I founded that, and I still write one-off tailored plans for people, because that does pay the bills. But really, I'm trying to get 40 guys in Blood and Train Athletes.
Yeah.
So if you're a virtuous man who's seeking to get really strong and develop physical skills, develop your mind, I want to pour into you to the point where you're at a point where you can leave and you can found your own thing, or you can lead your own men's group or something like that. It's kind of like it's a place for men to be trained up a certain way and then go out and serve others, and someone else can take your spot. It's kind of what I'm after. That's Blood and Train.
Awesome.
That's what that is now.
And what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and so Colin has been doing Blood and Train from my perspective as a Muay Thai guy. So if I programmed Blood and Train for Colin for him being a powerlifter, it would look a lot different. There would be no hard conditioning day. There would be no rebound day. Maybe a little less sprinting, and I'd be a little more liberal with giving you heavier reps. But you tell me, man. You went through 2 weeks of my training as it applies to a Muay Thai guy.
So it's interesting. Some things went wrong from my side of things.
Yeah.
And I know exactly the what happens,
yeah.
and then the consequences after that were very clear. When I diverged off the program,
Mm-hmm.
the next day instantly overtrained, and whatnot, and which is the bro lifter in me, unfortunately.
We all have an inner bro lifter.
Oh,
we gotta keep it checked. Max out.
I remember it was one day. I think it was. I don't remember the exact workout that I was doing, but I was supposed to be there for. It was always the second. So it was the second CNS, the full day.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
the one where it was you do your workout early in the morning, and then you'd have the massive list of exercises to do. And I remember I was like, I'm going to program some isolation exercises in at the end.
Yep.
And it just took curls and side raises to push me into that overtraining threshold and to throw off my workout the next day.
Yeah.
Even with that, though, and I don't know, looks are a little bit like they can change day to day, the lighting and whatnot.
Yeah.
I have not felt bigger and more full
Okay.
than I do in these 2 weeks.
Amazing.
which has been fun for me. I remember there's one day.
And like you only have 3 muscular workouts in that week.
Exactly.
You have a bunch of CNS weightlifting. You have a hard conditioning day.
Yeah.
Like, which is probably, I don't know, the most intense cardio you've done. Maybe aside from swimming.
I'd say it's probably the most intense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Those were so much fun. So much fun.
That's the day of self-rate.
Yeah,
awesome.
it was incredible. I remember I went into that and I had like a gray shirt on and I'm like, by the end of this, I just want to like sweat through completely, and I did. It was awesome. It was glorious. And then to be able to go back and train, I think there was another workout later in the day too. It was a 3x. Oh no, that was the
hard conditioning day. That's it.
Yeah,
You want to know. That's the only.
Okay, yeah. But I remember the next day after that, I hit the 5:15 for the 3x3 in deads.
Oh, for the rebound,
The rebound. I had more in me too though.
Yeah.
So like I probably could have pushed it to 5:45 for the 3x3.
I don't doubt it.
Which would have been the 5:15 for the 3x3. That was a PR. I
serious?
100 for volume. Obviously I pulled heavier singles.
Yeah. I've seen
But
singles.
and I'm really good at just muscling AMRAPs out.
Yeah.
Like I've done 500 for.
You have
8.
solid work capacity. Yeah.
But not generally for set wise. So like generally speaking, like for my deadlifts in the past, I would do my first set and then I have to drop the weight down by like 50 pounds.
I see. Okay.
So like I would be fried by like the third, fourth set, and then I'd be like at 405 from 500.
Okay.
And so to be able to hit that 5:15 for the 3x3 and have it was the exact same speed,
Mm-hmm.
tempo and whatnot, and then it was incredible. And so I would say
that's on a day you're doing tempo intervals and sled pushes.
Yeah. With the situation, with the speed, and how I was able to come back every set, it was the strongest I've been, and I felt the best after it too. Felt incredible. I don't know what was after the 3x3, but I remember just feeling insane as well too. And then the floor press. So I'm a very weak bench presser compared to my other lifts.
Yeah.
I've squatted a few pounds shy of 500 before. Probably have that in me, honestly, right now though. If I went for it,
I would love to see you. Honestly.
Yeah, it would be fun. Pulled 600 pounds speltless the other day. 635 all-time max PR. I can rep about 500 for 8 on deadlifts. My bench has been like. I hit 315 for a bounce touch and go a year ago.
Yeah. And
I haven't been able to get close to that.
Yeah.
And so the floor press was the one where I saw the biggest improvement because when I trained floor press, I'd be doing 185 for sets of maybe 6, 7.
Yeah.
And I was able to do, I think the first week, I overshot it a bit, and I think I went a few reps over, but I hit 225 for 8-ish, and then the 275 for 4 which is also a little overshot too, which was the pro lifter. I mean,
Yeah, see what's amazing is like the programming is so surgical for a reason. Like it's if I can get something out of like just this little bit, I take it, and I like give I should have given you more specific instructions, like stick to the programming, like stick to the principles, and you will see. But like you stuck to it most of the time, and still like broken. You're still feeling this way.
But the 275 for the set of 4 that I hit was, I would say I probably have 315 in me, right? For paused.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't do 250 for a floor press before the end of this, but it's like 2 weeks of like being able to train something and then recover from it. For the most part, minus me being stupid.
Yeah.
I got better, and so it was really fun to see that. The sprint's so much fun. So much fun.
Sprinting is
assault bike, just going ham for like the 30 minutes in the beginning, and then doing all like the circuit stuff, the medicine ball slams.
Yeah,
I felt incredible. I remember I think I called one of my buddies up, and I just wanted to tell him how much like pain I was in. I was like, I'm in so much pain. This is awesome.
This is the greatest day of my life.
So cool. But it was overall just unique. I got better. I look better. So like all variables I improved. On all variables I improved.
And in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Yeah.
I mean, like I know it works, but like every time I hear it, I'm like,
yeah,
okay. Like
every single time I do Turkish get-ups, I'd be adding more weight, like 5-10 pounds.
Yeah.
And having it be easier too.
That's good.
I want to say, and I remember I over-impressed for one of the days. I think it was like a 2x3 or 2x5. 2x5.
Yeah.
2x5. I put on. When I was very specifically training overhead press for a long period of time, a year ago, I got up to like 185 for a single, probably 2 years ago actually. I remember I put on for the 2x5, I would always wear a belt and I'd always use sleeves
Mhm.
when I would go for it. So
Yeah.
decent bit of assistance. I remember I just went into it with nothing, and I was hitting more weights for that 2x5 than I'd normally hit for the 2x5 when I do sets of 5
Mhm.
back then, with less assistance at a lower body weight and whatnot too. Which also kind of like puts, when you don't train for something but you get better at it
Yeah.
from other things, you know that those other things are working really well.
Absolutely.
And for me, the big thing was stabilization. I remember at my powerlifting meet, I went for bench press, and I remember when I was warming up for it,
Mhm.
one of the guys who walked by went, "You're shaking too much. The judges aren't going to call you on that. They're not going to let you start the rep." And so, and then I'd look at myself, and I'd literally be, I would have my warm-up weight locked out, and I'd just be violently shaking because I couldn't stabilize the weight. And so that was the missing link for me. You can't lift what you can't stabilize.
Right.
And for bench press, I was always shaky,
Mhm.
and by working the stabilizing, you had a ton of stabilizing exercises. By working the various stabilizing exercises, and also for me it was this abs too. I always had relatively visible abs, but I had pretty weak abs.
Mhm.
So just by training the abs, that stabilization part of it, the erector spinae, the various
Training the full core too, because a lot of people think the core, most people think core is just abs. Smart people think core is like abs, obliques, and lower back. People who know core, it's the abs, the obliques, the lower back, the erector spinae, the pelvic floor.
Oh, yeah.
The glute medius is technically part of the core because
Yeah.
it's stabilization. So training actual core strength, 99% of people don't train actual core strength.
100%.
They train core endurance. I can do a plank for 10 minutes. That's endurance. You think the principles of rep ranges and time under tension just stops applying to the core? No.
Yeah.
No. You need that same max effort for the core, which is why we program it that way.
100%. And so I noticed that in various exercises, I just wasn't. I didn't have the warning signs that I had previously.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a small shift, but so far, it benefited strength-wise. I would say even aesthetics, I just visibly, meatier abs.
Mhm.
And my shoulders got bigger in the week period because it's very easy to abuse lighting and
Mhm.
abuse filters.
Big time. Yeah.
But I actually have been taking taking as many variables out of as I can by the same time of the day, no food in me,
Mhm.
and my shoulders actually improved in size. I have looked bigger fasted and with no food in my body getting out of bed than I did beforehand at the end of the day, pump and whatnot, which is crazy for me and really cool to see. And I feel like generally people don't see progress, but it's been very evident for me in all those areas too. So it's been cool to see it visually, it's been cool to feel it, and also to the numbers wise too.
Yeah.
I think the floor press one was what I was most pumped about.
Yeah, you seem all the videos you've been tagging me, which
Yeah.
I've been loving every single one of them. I remember seeing you just so psyched about that floor press. First of all, floor press is so much more beneficial for everything than bench press. You're actually creating a lot more stopping power. When I trained, I trained other teammates in strength and conditioning. I wish I could have stayed in San Francisco longer to train some of these guys who are going to be lighting people up this year. There's a 125er, very, very good friend of mine. He fights at 127, walks around 132. He's the pound for pound hardest kicker in the gym. I think the only person who kicked harder than him was he's a really tried and true middleweight. I've been doing it for 20 years. I said, when you lift at an elite level in such a way that doesn't compromise your Muay Thai training, you're gonna murder everybody.
Yeah.
Your technique's already there. Your IQ's already there. You have this backing. You have this bedrock max effort. Because strength is apparent quality to everything. So you get stronger like this, your conditioning is gonna go up. Your power's gonna go up. No. You're gonna literally murder everything. The floor press too. When I train it, when I give it to fighters, they're surprised. Especially boxing's a little bit different because boxing doesn't have any kind of has some hand fighting involved, but they're constantly snapping the punches. They're not doing any sort of hand fighting into punches, right? They're but you'll see for us, we'll have something called the long guard. So you'll see Buoka do it where it's more extended like this. But for us to do bent elbow long guard, which is like this, right? And even just that hand fighting you got from the floor press, since it goes to here, that little bit of floor press he was doing, his hand fighting game just got way better. That's almost incredible. Overnight.
That's really cool.
Yeah, floor press is it's you want to get stronger the bench press, floor press. You want to get stronger in general on the field, floor press.
Yeah.
You want or bench press with chains. That's kind of the other thing too. Bench press has very little carryover, and even bench pressing more to get good at bench press it's not like a deadlift or a squat. Like, it actually doesn't help you out that much.
The times when I was benching the most were actually when I was the weakest.
Yeah.
It was when, and it's also interesting too because you look at it, people generally don't get injured from doing the wrong exercises. They get injured from overusing the right exercises.
Absolutely.
Or too much of of a good thing, not a great thing. So for me, it's like I had the worst tendonitis when I was benching a ton. I felt I was overtrained from pushing max efforts. It was when I started doing a very conjugate style where I do speed work. I would vary the grips, I would vary the bars, I'd do Swiss bar, I'd do floor press, I'd do dumbbells one day. Or just completely work on accessories alone, tricep kickback roll. I think the rollbacks.
Yeah.
It was when I'd work on all the various when I would train the weaknesses and vary everything that I got stronger, injuries went away, and I felt just overall the best athlete. When I was actually only training straight bar bench press, maybe once every 2 weeks, I was actually straight bar benching the most.
Makes perfect sense too, especially if it sounded like that programming too is like primarily coming from the muscular system too. So if you're using the muscular system as opposed to the central nervous system to gain strength, then the pitfalls you're going to run into are certain parts of the muscular system. So it's like, okay, well, now this part of the muscular system is weaker. The triceps are weaker. The shoulders are weaker. This part of the rep is weaker. I had a guy switch, he was bodybuilder type. He had him switch to more CNS based, right? So like the 5-minute rest, only 10 working total reps. And he's like, should I do speed work? Should I do this? Should I do that? I'm like, no, just try this for a little bit. And he was like actually kind of surprised, and he like came to me and he was like, I feel like I was like, what's the problem? He's just like, I'm like, your PR is up? Yeah. You feel better? Yeah. You less tired? Yeah. You bigger? Yeah. What? Like, what's the problem? And he's like, I just feel like I'm not working hard enough.
Yes.
And I was just like, no, you're doing the work that needs to be done.
Every single person who is passionate about training and knows what intensity looks like, intensity is rarely the key to their training. Rarely, if ever.
Yeah. Unless you were a pure bodybuilder.
Oh yeah.
Like you were a pure, like a Dorian Yates type. Like if you don't care about mobility, you don't care about your health, you don't care, like, I mean, this bodybuilding with steroids, but like, you don't care about anything else but being the best person on stage. Do 3 45-minute sessions a week, maybe 4.
Yeah.
To failure, and you will see the greatest results.
100%.
You won't walk properly ever.
You look at Ronnie Coleman. He trained insane, and now he's 12 back surgeries into. It's awful. He can't walk in a wheelchair.
I mean,
that's bodybuilding.
That's bodybuilding. I mean, Dorian Yates used that methodology, and Ronnie, but he did it to the point where he's still healthy. Like, he's still pretty healthy now, despite the steroids. Yeah. Ronnie took I think Dorian's the greatest milestone in bodybuilding by far, because the heaviest winner, I think, Mr. Olympia-wise, to step on stage was 245 before Dorian. Dorian stepped on the stage 265, and like any bodybuilding coach you ask, they're interviewed, they're like, you see the pictures of Dorian. He looks amazing. It doesn't do it justice. If you were there, you would see his skin was like rice paper. Yeah. It was absurd. So like, he was the biggest milestone. There would be no Jay Cutler, no Ronnie Coleman without Dorian's methodology, which he actually modified from Mike Mentzer. So Mike Mentzer was like the guy before him. I really liked his mindset too when it came to it. He wasn't a PR person. He was nicknamed the Shadow because he would show up and then just disappear until the next show, which I can appreciate a lot, because you have all these bodybuilders who every single one of them has a brand, a supplement. Yeah. Which I get, to be able to make more, to be able to make money off of it and whatnot. Yeah. But at some point, they start selling parts of themselves, and their personality for more profit, and I don't appreciate that at all. I just can't. I mean, I was anonymous for a long time, man, because like I don't want Blood and Rain to be about me. Like this is my day in the life. This is what I do. This is what I believe. This is what I'm writing. But like it should be something bigger than me, and like even. What I really appreciate about Dorian, I don't really get along with like Arnold types. I don't get along with like really arrogant, sort of like flashy types. Best. Yeah, I just don't. I've never got along with those people ever. When I see like guys like Dorian, it's like, oh, you were the best, right? You didn't walk around in a tank top all the time. You walk around covered up because you're working on a sculpture. You're torturing yourself. I went to his gym in Birmingham before it closed, the Dungeon. I walked in there, I was like, this is truly like a dungeon of suffering.
That's awesome.
And so the fact that like he wasn't walking around like that all year, he just focused on the craft, separated himself from it, even though the craft is literally his body, and then just tore everyone up at Mr. Olympia 6 times in a row, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the mentality I'm after with Blood and Rain in general. But like that milestone mentality too, that the way he thought about it, there would be no Ronnie Coleman without him. So Ronnie did what Dorian did and did to the point where he injured himself, but he's the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I don't think he really cares that he has 12 back surgery. He's like, I'm an 8-time Mr. Olympia. I'm the greatest of all time. Like there's videos of me doing 800-pound squats, not for powerlifting, for the sake of bodybuilding.
Yes.
Like, hey man, I think he's pretty at peace, honestly. I don't think he cares. Like,
Yeah.
when you see him, he's like,
Happy, dude.
that is
Happy
what it is.
Yeah. I do like training heavy for bodybuilding, though. It's
Yeah.
interesting. And this is very bro sciencey.
Yeah.
But, like, you see bodybuilders who do very high reps. They're big. You see
Yeah.
bodybuilders who do both, where they train really heavy. They get that, like, thick muscle belly.
Absolutely.
To where they're not just big, but they're dense.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best look ever. Like, to see the powerlifters who transition into bodybuilding,
Yeah.
like, they just have something that makes them different.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that. And I think that's the more aesthetic look.
I agree. I mean, like a lot of the guys who do the volume bit, like they kind of look more like the. Arnold had freak bicep chest genetics. Like that's what he's known for. That's his trademark. But you kind of look at all the guys from that area who are more volume. Like they're very aesthetic looking, but they almost don't look strong. Even though they were lifting some heavy weights because they're doing more volume, they don't look like.
It's almost like a hollow statue that you're kind of
Yeah, and a lot of guys like that look. I'm not the biggest fan. I get why people like it. But like to me, like the '90s, like the proportions were still there, and the density that you're talking about, like it wasn't just Dorian, it was Kevin Levrone, it was who else? Nasser El Sambati, Sean Ray, Chris Cormier, all those guys, Milos Sarcev. Like it's like you guys look strong, you are strong, you're dense, like you're still got aesthetic proportions. Like I thought, like that's like even on the muscular system days, like for hypertrophy, right? Like so that I gave you, right? For a Muay Thai fighter like me blitzing bicep curls, obviously it doesn't make much sense, right? But there's smart ways to do hypertrophy. There's smart ways to be strong. So like notice like even on days where it was a press day, I was still worried about giving you rotational work. So you had Turkish get-ups and you had a landmine press.
Yes.
I wanted you to do a weighted carry, so there's a sled push. On the pull day, there's landmines. And there's a vertical pull, there's myofibrillar hypertrophy, there's sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, there's a weighted carry, there's a barbell complex. We're hitting every part of the back, but we're hitting in a bunch of different movements, so you can still move well. You can still do that heavy, which is cool. Like those, I'm sure that barbell complex and the pull day wasn't a cakewalk, you know. And I mean, you're telling me you're the biggest you've ever been. That's just,
it feels dense, which is cool. Like
yeah,
it's awesome because I feel like my erector spine. I just feel like there's this like thickness around my lower back now. I just feel supported, which is a cool feeling because lower back has always been a weak point of myself. Injuries and whatnot. But like I just feel dense, but I feel safe, minus my stupidity a few days ago and whatnot, and overtraining a little bit.
Yeah, and honestly, the fact that you saw success while like the programming was so surgical and like you kind of threw off the balance and it still worked.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that means a lot to me to hear as a coach. You know, I mean, it's like that means I'm doing right by people. Like, even if you kind of follow it the wrong way, like, I know, like, some of my guys right now in Blood and Train athletes are, like, doing it wrong. Like, I know right now. I constantly say, like, guys, send me you can hound me. You can, middle of the night, send me form checks, right? Tell me, I have a section called training notation. I said, this is the way you take your training notes. I have a literal podcast about the way you take training notes, right? You talk about each exercise. You talk about each rep. You write down the weights, you talk about what kind of went wrong, you talk about where your mind was at, you talk about where your being was at, right? I see the training notation, there's a separate part of the Discord for training notation, and I scroll, and I was just like, you weren't supposed to do that heavy. You weren't supposed to do that day. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, it's this. This will get this where it needs to go. I don't need you to be a hero. I gave you certain days to be a hero. Be a hero on your hard conditioning day. On hard conditioning, you can go balls to the wall as hard as you want. If I had to coach like a legitimate, like more more disciplined, grounded bodybuilder type, right? I don't coach F boys. I don't coach trust fund baby types. If you're raised in a trust fund, your parents raised you right, hey, I got no problem with you. It's not about your money. It's about this. It's about your attitude. So I don't coach those kind of people. But how to coach a bodybuilder with the right attitude, I mean, it would look much different. There's no reason for you to do hard conditioning. That's a waste of time, right? But I would tell them like what things to be a hero, right? And then outside of the gym, like don't play basketball. Don't do any serious heavy cardio activity. Like there's gonna be some cardio to have your appetite up and get the blood flowing a little bit, but that's about it. Everything's there for a purpose. Everything there is as surgical as possible. If I found like one thing that brings a lot of success in any aspect in life, be surgical with your time, be surgical with your planning, be surgical with your training, be surgical with everything. So like the fact that like the training was surgical and you didn't like there's some principles you didn't adhere to and it still worked, like that makes me happy. But that's I don't know, that's definitely part of the philosophy too, because especially I gave you training as a Muay Thai fighter, right? So like basically you took my training and you did it like as if you were doing Muay Thai, right?
Yeah.
And all those things still went up. My strength does go up. My conditioning does go up. But then I also have to think about timing wise. Like I had to balance this with pad work. I had to balance it with the sparring. Okay, so I know I've been at this gym for how long. Okay, I know this sparring day is more technical sparring day. I know Saturday morning sparring is supposed to be technical sparring, but we're taking each other's heads off, right? So okay, I need more carbs that day. Okay, well that Friday night I got up at 3 a.m. and I'm supposed to be there at 11 a.m. and have an hour commute. Okay, I better make sure I'm doing some grounding. I better make sure I've had a certain amount of carbs the night before, maybe some oysters, maybe some, definitely a lot of raw meat. The morning of, I'm going to have as much food as I possibly can. I'm going to pray and I'm going to get there. Right? So, like, I'm trying to be as surgical with my time, too, outside of the gym.
Oh, yeah.
So that the training inside of the gym, being surgical there is actually a benefit.
It was 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Which was so fun. I loved how I just structured my day around the training.
Yeah.
It was really cool watching the faces of the staff that works at the gym.
Yeah.
I would do my workout, leave, go eat a meal, and come back like 45 minutes later to like do workout number 2.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. Or like work, just like scheduling it into different parts of the day, or like just kind of working on the normal schedule.
Yeah.
Food wise is a lot of fun too. Periodizing like carb wise, like when to eat so I can best be digested and like get all of my protein in without eating too much and getting that like over satiation to where like you feel sluggish and whatnot. It was, and I don't think I've ever eaten more. Generally, like through
amazing.
Yeah, which is fun because I like eating.
Yeah, honestly, I'm like not good at eating a lot of food. Like I was really good at it when I was like bartending 12 hours a day and training, and like you just kind of had to. You just collapse, right?
Yeah.
Like, some guys are really good. I'm not good at having like a big appetite.
I eat when I'm lazy. When I'm not doing anything. So when I'm moving, but generally I have no appetite. I have to like remind myself to eat.
Yeah,
this is for your own good. Force it down.
Eat this pound of raw liver right now. Like, this liver tastes trash.
I'm here making up like 5 cups of white rice and like a steak before bed, just forcing it down.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the missus, she if she sees me not eating, she starts getting freaked out. So she'll honestly make sure that I eat, which sometimes. I mean, if it was just me on my own, like I would force myself to do it, but like, it is kind of nice. It's really nice.
I was falling asleep and I was reminded that I was 40 grams of protein down. Dude, so I got up, I went to the kitchen and made up like 8 eggs, 2 cups of white rice, ate it down, and then went back to bed. Or the other day, I was incredible. I think so. This was after the injury. This is the slight back injury. Like nothing that's like groundbreaking, but just something that's like I'll probably have to program some like accessories in to heal it, some more stretching and whatnot. Yeah. But I remember I bought like 2 pounds of steak after it. Because I was down, it was like 2 a.m. I was like, I had to be up in like 10 hours to train with someone else. This was before the upper body workout. So I was feeling super overtrained. So I got 2 pounds of steak, had a ton of rice, and I'm just forcing it down, practically crying by the last bite because like I knew that I needed it, but just eating for me, I bounced back between loving food and hating it. Yeah. And so when I bulked up, actually it was 230 at one point. Nice. It was awful. I don't know if you've seen any photos of me from when I was that size. No. It's like 6,000 calories a day. pain. Like I was
That's
so
a job.
my meal to finish off the night was 6 eggs, 4 cups of brown rice, 5-ish tablespoons of peanut butter, and then olive oil on top of that. And then after I would choke,
It sounds like the 2016 bodybuilding.
Oh, yeah,
diet
it
where, like,
was.
people didn't know.
10
like,
candy bars, 5 pizzas.
y'all ever heard of Fit Crush? Yeah, I bought a box. I ate it today. I feel horrendous.
Yeah. And so I during that period of time, eating was the worst thing ever. I hated every second of it. And so I lost weight super easily. And then when I got to, I actually cut down to like 175-ish. I'm 189 right now, bounced back between 189 and 195. Just honestly, that's water weight and glycogen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't gain, if any, fat. It's just water for me is always something that like comes and goes super quick.
Yeah.
But like, I'm at like this weird point where like some days like eating's the worst thing ever, and then some days when it's like all I want to do is just eat more food. It's interesting, the psychology behind it all.
Yeah, man. It really is. Like I've gotten to the point where it's like I just force myself to eat. Like I get on a schedule, or the missus forces me to eat, which is great. But yeah, I mean, I remember when I was like broke, and I was like eating Wendy's and Walmart chicken breasts. Like that was pretty terrible. And I'm like going on the Wendy's website, like, right, what has more protein than fat? Like,
Yeah.
one item, cool, awesome. We're getting that a lot. Like, it's terrible. But
I would you know those Quest bars? I think they're Quest. Very very sucralose. Anyways, the nice thing is there's very little calories to them. I would buy 8 and then eat 8.
I can't even eat 2, man. I hate those bars so much.
It's just you feel so artificial by the end.
You feel like a GMO, man.
Honestly.
Yeah. It's bad, man. That's crazy, man.
I remember there was one day I had 12 protein bars. And by the end of it, I'm shitting blood. I'm not even joking.
There's some Rich Piana, like, remember that old bro science video where, like, it asked the professors, like, Dear Dom.
Dom Mazzetti.
Dom Mazzetti. Dear Dom, I followed Rich Piana's meal plan, and now I'm pooping blood. Well, I actually got Rich Piana's meal plan right here. It's like 12 meals are blood, 13th is the Earth's mantle, and 14th is baby powder, which is protein powder made from incinerated babies. So if you're pooping blood, that sounds like you're on your meal plan. So good job. I was like, oh,
that's not health.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. Like I feel like 2014, 15, 16 was like an era of like bodybuilding and weightlifting culture where like people really didn't know nutrition at all. So they're scarfing down like oatmeal.
I heard one thing where it was you would cook your chicken, but then the water, I think it was the liquid that was left, or is there a chicken or turkey? And the way of cooking it left a lot of like liquid that wasn't the meat, but you had to drink the liquid because that's where the majority of the protein went when you cooked it. So you'd be drinking fatty chicken, half turkey water to get your protein in. I remember hearing that. Or like the anabolic window stuff that just turned out to like be very partially kind of true. Like the whole... But it's like more of an anabolic barn door at this point, like that science has kind of shown us. Like
Milo Sharshev is the one who actually knows when he's talking when that comes. Like he did a podcast with Ben Greenfield saying like the anabolic window is a real thing.
But if you eat 3 hours before your lift, like 50 grams of protein, or like 2 hours after your lift, you've pretty much maxed it out. I think honestly, like not even protein, it's carbs at this point. It's a good clean carbs, like getting those in your body so your body can start the healing process. Because most people, you have enough protein. If you lift and you're somewhat, you know what you're doing, you probably have enough protein in your diet.
Yeah.
It's utilizing carbs in a smart way that people don't have. No. How many of us destroyed our insulin sensitivities through rock stars, various sugars? When I was bulking, I would you know those like family packets of M&Ms? They're like 16 servings. I'd go through one of those almost every day.
I thought like I did stupid things in nutrition, but you're putting me to shame right now, man. That's actually amazing.
I would have 200 grams of carbs, straight sugar, by 10 o'clock in the morning because I had 4 rock stars. That's like 1,200 calories just from sugar.
Dude, rocks! I remember this one time too. I was like bartending near the Giants Stadium, and typically I would get banged for the bartending shifts, and like the Dodgers were in town.
What's your favorite flavor?
The bang?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's a really good question, honestly. Since I don't drink them anymore.
How would your body react if you drank one right now?
I'd probably clean the ceiling, man. Like it's been like 6 weeks. I mean, the go-tos were like lemon drop, purple haze.
Ooh.
Yeah, lemon drop, purple haze were kind of the two go-tos. Miami, if I could find a Miami Cola, that was like a holy grail because those were really rare.
There's
No, don't
if
tell
you
me.
stop at the
Please
Woodman's that's
don't
on
do
your
it,
way
don't
back
do
to
it.
Chicago.
Yeah, no, the Miami Cola, the key lime pie, honey apple crisp. I think those 5 where I was like,
Yeah.
those are the ones I was smashing my face. You know, I would just drink. I remember bartending in Oakland. I like drink one, like smash my face with it, like not really thinking that that's like a big deal. Like 1 or 2 of my guests were like, "Hey man, I just want to ask you, man, you all right?" And I was like, "What? Like, what do you mean? Like, you like smash your face in that can?" I was like, "Oh, dude, that's just something I do. Don't worry about that." And it's like, "Okay, man."
Why are you snorting the bang?
Yeah, just snorting creatine on the bar, just doing the lines of
Lots of
creatine.
creatine.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I think that, so I work at a nutrition shop, and there's certainly, I think there's downsides. It's never, supplementation I feel like is rarely the answer. Like
Yeah.
if someone comes in here and is like, where's the pre-workout? Like I'll probably talk to them about their training first, and I might honestly turn them away, which isn't the best business practice.
Yeah.
But
Get your good
why
cigarette.
why take pre-workout when you're not getting 8 hours of sleep, when you're not eating good meals, when you're not training right?
Yeah.
It's wrong. You shouldn't be. But it's the TikTok pre-workout abuse.
Yeah.
Everyone's on, and listen, for me too. Like I lived it.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, and I think it's probably one of the more detrimental things just for your overall lifestyle.
Yeah.
Than maybe even like it's hard to like compare it to like recreational drugs, but I'd say it's on par with like.
It's kind of there, man. Like,
No,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't sound right when you make the comparison because it's just pre-workout. But I mean like gram of caffeine later and your body's pretty messed up.
There was a moment I had in December where I was bartending. I knew I had to pull an all-nighter because that shit had so much work to do. And like I didn't have any food, and I had like 2 bangs in the space of like 5 minutes. And it was like a really like slow bar shift to start. You know, there's a lot of people at COVID. It's raining. It's a very jovial atmosphere, but like kind of secluded. And everyone's like in a certain mood, and I like had these 2 bangs, and I just remember like even in my mind, I'm like kind of just giggling because I went somewhere else. Like, I had my coworkers look at me. They're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like literally just looking at the ground, like, "Yeah, yeah, I think I'm okay." And they're like, "I don't believe you." I'm like, "I don't believe me either. But don't worry about it, okay?
I'm more than good.
And like, don't worry about it." But like, it is this kind of abuse that people are talking about.
The first time I had one, it was actually after the workout.
Yeah.
It was after the workout was over. My buddy, when we stopped at Century on the way, but this was like 15 month got me. We stopped at Century on the way home. Got me a sour apple.
Oh, jeez.
It's like
Sourheads,
the
yeah.
Sourhead, yeah.
Yeah.
Having that bang, and I drink it. I feel great. I get into like the shower and I'm listening to music, and suddenly like this wave of euphoria hits me. I start pounding my chest and screaming at the top of my lungs. I remember I flipped the water fully to cold just to like feel more. I ended up like deep cleaning my like everything in my parents' house and like working like ahead like 3 weeks in school that time, and when it came off, I was like instantly addicted. Like when can I get this again? And so I started getting bangs more frequently, but then I got like the actual pre-workout. And I just started with 1 scoop, and then it was 1 scoop, 2 scoops, and then it was 2 scoops in the morning.
Dry scooping? Yeah.
I never actually. I hated dry scooping. I like to taste the pre-workout.
I'm a huge fan of dry scooping, man. Like, I would actually have a bang, I would dry scoop, I think Mr. Hyde.
Oh.
I drink a whole bang, dry scoop Mr. Hyde. Then I'd like slap myself in the face, and then just like I think I was listening to like Filter, 9 Inch Nails, or something like that. And just like look like something. I was always wearing a hoodie because of Dorian, and I just didn't like showing off. So I'd be like just lifting in jeans, but actually kind of the way I'm dressed now, honestly. And then just get after it. I looked like a serial killer, man. Like it wasn't good.
Did you ever get the tingles, the crazy tingles?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it was great.
I almost called the ambulance the first time because I like. So I think I was using initially before I made the jump to like 3 scoops.
Yeah.
I was using just the amount where I wasn't feeling the tingles, but I remember I took 3. I was volunteering at a hospital, this morning. So I took 3 scoops to get ready to work in the garden, which is kind of ironic, taking pre-workout to go garden.
I gotta be really amped for just packing these hydrangeas, just really perfect.
And I took the 3 scoops, and then I just started itching. It was excruciating. Everything. I want to claw my skin off.
Yeah.
And I convinced myself that I'm having an allergic reaction, which just makes ups the. So I talked myself into a panic attack from the pre-workout, and I hate the tingles. Can't stand the tingles.
I was off caffeine for about a month, and my buddy gave me a C4 Ultimate for the first time. We were gonna go to Denny's, and I'm at Denny's, and I look at him like, Jeremy, if I don't go to the gym right now, I'm actually gonna kill you. I'm actually gonna punch your face right off. And he knows I'm half joking. He's seen me do crazier things, and he's like UFC gym. I'm like, yeah. I'm screaming at the mirror in UFC gym. As I'm I got 3+ plates in my back, just screaming because the tingles are so bad and I want them to go away. And it was, oh gosh. This is see, all of these stories are the exact opposite of the training I gave you.
Yeah, oh yeah. And it's just complete, utter madness, no precision at all, abusing stimulants to...
It's more of a mystique that we're after. It's fun. It's super fun. Oh yeah, got off at 3, started at the gym at 4, just drank 2 lemon drops after eating 2 everyday value slams at Denny's with the guys. They didn't bring the utensils in time because it's a horrible Denny's on South 3rd Street. So I ate it with my hands. This guy in front of me says, hey, you're going straight to hell, man, because you're a savage. And I was just nah, man. It's no, I'm serious. I actually think you're a crazy person. I think you're going straight to hell. I was cool, man. Yeah, maybe I had a good workout, but is that sustainable? Are you trying to get strong over time? No, or are you after just feeling like a lunatic? Are you after feeling like a savage, feeling
awesome.
like a meathead?
You might even hit PRs for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then after that 2-week mark, breathing hurts. Getting out of bed in the morning is a struggle, and the colors are less vivid. It sounds... you can honestly push yourself into depression by living like that.
You're actually sapping out the life force.
Oh, yeah. You lost so much dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
Your body is so from forcing the level of dopamine up so high, your body has raised the baseline level to feel okay by that much to where you feel like crap if you're not on DMHA, caffeine, and...
Yeah, these guys sort of inject rabies and Wolverine peptides in themselves just to feel okay because drinking 4 bangs doesn't even do it. It's just man, you got different. You almost got spiritual problems if this is what you're doing. Honestly, this kind of goes beyond whatever it is. Because even the heaviest competitors and the greatest competitors in bodybuilding, they're not doing these. They're doing, obviously they're taking steroids and doing some pretty crazy workouts. There's some crazy eating plans, right?
Yeah.
But the best, they're not being this stupid about it. They're not after feeling like a savage. They actually want to be that.
Yes.
If you actually want to be strong, you're going to stick to the program. If you actually want to be a solid athlete, you're going to stick to your training. You're not going to do anything stupid that's going to harm you outside of the gym.
No.
I mean, I've gone to punk shows and then trained for 3 hours after because I just needed to train. It was obviously pretty stupid. Did I get something out of it? Yeah. Could have been smarter? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think a lot of guys might see this and this one time. That one time.
Yeah.
But how, if you were to compare your training of a year, training the smart way, and a training of the year way you want to train, it would be night and day. And you would actually get depressed seeing it because you insisted in this way. You got your identity built on feeling like a lunatic in the gym when really what you wanted was you wanted that PR. You wanted that championship belt.
My one buddy, he actually really helped me for my first powerlifting meet because he was really, so he lifted like a bro, then got on some really good programming. And so he went from pulling 600 pounds in deadlifts a year and a half ago. He just hit 738 pounds yesterday. Set 3 national records.
Unbelievable.
Yesterday. Big Jeb, that's his Instagram handle. But Josiah Richardson.
Okay. And
so I remember when taking me through we lifted one time, and he just, I think his thing was, so I told him what I was doing. I was I deadlift 3 times a week. And I'm he asked me, he's do you want to get better? I'm yeah, well, I tried to justify it. Do you want to get better? Yeah. And I'm yeah, but he's just stop lifting so much. Stop destroying your body.
Yeah.
And so for him, I'm doing 4 to 5 days a week of 4 exercises a day. Benched 391, squatted 545, and then deadlifted 738 as a 19-year-old.
Yeah, see, it's like there's a select few of you guys in your generation. I'm like, okay, there's the future's all right. Then you turn on TikTok, you're like, maybe not.
Yeah.
But I'm glad there's a counterbalance to these TikTok blue hair types who are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's kind of crazy.
Got a million and one. Never mind, I'm not gonna go down that road again. But I mean, out of everything, because you're 2 weeks. You train for 2 weeks in this program. You say you're stronger. You say you're bigger. You say you feel better. You say you're eating the most. Like, were there any downsides to the training?
I wasn't able to abuse caffeine, but that's not really a downside.
That's a you thing.
That's
a you thing.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I would have, if the bro in me would have liked to have some side raises programmed in.
Yeah.
Maybe like once a week. Some more. I like training.
That's actually supposed to be in your push day.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it in there initially?
It's supposed to be, but yeah, because I actually do program at least side raises at least once or twice a week.
I wonder if I just completely missed it, like every single time. Like, I don't know though.
I don't know.
That's interesting though.
Yeah.
I want to say in push you have me the 8x8 for the incline bench and then the push slap ups, and then that goes to a 4x10 on kettlebell presses or dumbbell presses, which then goes into a close grip bench press for 5, supersetted with a medicine ball rotational slams for 10 minutes AMRAP, and I think that's the end of it for the push day.
Yeah, there's the get up complex. The Turkish get up complex is in the push day. Or is that?
I think it's in the leg day.
No, yeah, I did put it in the leg day. Yeah, no, you're supposed to have some side raises and a sled push. Obviously. Yeah. I took it a bit easier in a couple of days just to see, because like, since I gave you the training that I do in a week, I was like, maybe like I got really used to that. I may have accidentally removed the side raises out of yours, and that might have been it. I don't know. Side raises are supposed to be.
I don't think there's any downsides to it, personally. I think it was just being so used to training different that my brain kind of like fought me a little bit on like the what we know to be best. But like I got stronger and bigger, so like something worked.
Yeah, in 2 weeks, man.
2 weeks. Yeah. It's cool to see, because like generally when you've been lifting for six years, it doesn't really happen.
Yeah. I mean, I could coach you as a powerlifter, man. Like you wouldn't be having a hard conditioning day. I would be doing this training and applying those principles to you being a powerlifter. Yeah,
that might be the move after this, honestly.
Yeah?
I think so.
Okay.
I guess we'll be in contact about that. It'd be a lot of fun. It'd be so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I would have all kinds of like sort of mad scientist ideas that I know you'd actually follow and would be into. You know? Yeah.
That's like the workout that people would look at and just like cry themselves over, and that I would just be like,
you're just like some crazed. Yeah.
I remember I took I lifted with a few different people throughout the 2 week period and brought them through what I was doing that exact day.
Yeah.
And I remember just like being called out for looking so crazily happy. And it was towards the end of the workout. I'm like, now we're gonna do 10 minutes straight of the kettlebell swings, 15 on, 15 rest, 15 on, 15 rest, and just to see the look of like sad, like the pain on their face. But it was so fun. It was so fun.
Yeah, it's funny that the way that's programmed too, it's like this portmanteau of muscle endurance and hypertrophy.
Yeah.
So it's like you're getting the time under tension is absurd, and your muscle endurance, you're actually gaining some work capacity from that too. That's going to apply all the way back up the other end. Oh yeah. Which is, I mean, the kettlebells are king, man. Like kettlebells, if you're going to pick kettlebell, barbell, or dumbbell, just if you want everything, you're going to pick kettlebell. If you can have like every weight kettlebell under the sun, because you're going to gain ballistics, you're going to gain stability, you're going to gain sprinting power. You're going to gain everything that you gain from a barbell. The only thing that's slightly better about the barbell is the potential for max effort. That's it. Yeah. That's it.
And a little bit of specificity if you're training for barbell exercises.
Oh, absolutely. If you're powerlifting, like, no, don't only train kettlebells. That'd be ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, it's a similar. I've gotten like kicked in the leg a million times and been happy about it, and people like think that I'm crazed. Like they think I'm actually crazy. I'm like, no, this means I'm getting better, because if I get kicked in the leg a million times during training,
if you can associate the pain you feel in life through long work days to improvement, you won. That you live the more satisfaction, and to a point. I mean, you don't want to be like we talked about earlier. The grind. Yeah. The grind, taking while adjusting for fatigue, while adjusting for actually needing rest. Yeah. I mean, when you can control, when you get satisfaction from working hard. I mean, the world is yours at that point.
Basically. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, yeah. I think. I mean, honestly, Colin, you're kind of like a poster boy for blood and train athletes. Like, what are we looking for? Virtuous, God-fearing.
Working on that.
hard worker, smart, disciplined, willing to follow instruction, wanting to serve his fellow man. Like you are literally a poster boy for it. So I'd love to coach him.
I think that's the move.
All right, that's what's up.
How long do you think we've been going for?
I have no idea.
That's. Oh, we just passed the 2-hour mark.
Amazing.
That's
Wow.
I'm gonna say that because I don't want the camera to die during the middle of the.
Oh,
talk.
okay. I see. I mean, is there, in terms of the programming, is there anything else like? I mean, what was your favorite day? Because like they're all pretty different. honestly.
That's a very hard question. I'd say it's very hard. It was always I like change.
Yeah.
I also like lifting heavy, but there's a little bit of all that for like all the days. I loved the days when it was like I don't see this doesn't really fit into like your programming, but I loved working a full day at work, eating something, training, eating something, training again, and then going to bed. Yeah. Like that was the most fun for me.
See, like the 2-a-day aspect of it.
I do. Sometimes it got a little bit rough with like scheduling and whatnot when trying to be in bed at a certain time and sleeping. But I did enjoy the 2-a-days. Awesome. Probably with work, I closed. Like I was at work till midnight last night, and then I opened this morning. So like those.
They got you clopening, yeah.
Yeah. Life could be so much worse, but it's a little bit hard to program in with that way. And I'm so.
Yeah, feeling it, yeah.
It's one of the things where it's like, I might not actually be weaker, but knowing that. Mm-hmm. Fatigue and not being able to recover from something might make someone weaker. Yeah. I am weaker because of that. If anything, I'm more of like talking
it's
myself.
It's like psychosomatic, basically.
Literally, it's where it's like 6 hours of sleep one night when you're used to getting 8 or 9 every other night. Theoretically, wouldn't destroy your performance at all.
No, it wouldn't.
But it does because you think it does. So for me, I like talking myself or starting a cut, losing 5 pounds of fat. And then knowing that you might be weaker, so you don't have, and then like talking yourself into having less energy when you go and train that day. It's really, it's very much mind over matter.
That's the other thing too, like the mental toughness of it. We'll work on that too.
Yeah.
That's the kind of like I've done the training, I've done everything that's been set up before me. If this happened and it's been greenlit, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. We don't need to make a big deal about it. We're just a working man. Just go in, we do the work, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not that deep. Like I'm someone who's constantly like, no, we need to go deeper on things. We need to constantly hone in on the exact essence. I've already done all that for you, sports science. I just need you to do the daggone thing. Yeah. So
I did start. I incorporated some of the grip stuff. So like not training grip, but using grip as a determination for like recovery. Yeah. I did a lot of that. So I have a scale that like can actually be. It's like one of the food scales that can be activated. That's not digital to where you have to have like 80 pounds of weight on there, but you can actually like grip it and I'll tell you how much. Yeah. I use that as a judge for recovery, and most days it was spot on. I have a benchmark of like how many pounds is generally like what close to 100% recovered is. Nice. And what the Soviets would do, and you know this, but like the Soviets would do is that they had a machine that they would squeeze that would like tell them what they could train that day, if they could train to begin with, but see if they were recovered. And so I always noticed that it would always begin with my grip. If my grip was weak in the beginning of a workout, it signaled to me that I wasn't recovered fully and that I wouldn't be able to maybe even recover from that workout. So I started using that as sort of a variable for almost how hard I should go on like the 2x5s and whatnot. Yeah. Because I could muscle out maybe for the first workout of the day, the CNS day portion of it, every day I could probably hit really heavy weight.
Yeah.
But
you're not supposed to.
But you're not supposed to. And so judging whether I go like RP 7 versus 8 on that portion so I can train later in the day, because the day that I hit, the first workout of the day for the 2x5, I actually maxed out floor press. Yeah. Which threw off the later portion of the workout and whatnot. It's kind of, it's...
I mean, the whole nature of it, too, is because the reason why it's so surgical is, like, this expanding bedrock, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I know I can hit, right, so, like, why I wanted you to do 2 weeks, too, is because we program in 2-week blocks, right? The first week is priming. The second week is you're making a jump. Because the endocrine system can only handle 2 heavy lifting weeks in a month. So it's like that first week, all right, we're getting used to this, right? So for a set of 5, I'm picking a weight that I can do for 7 to 8 reps. No, sorry, like more 8 to 9 reps, right? Week 2, now we're doing 7 to 8 reps, right? That I'm doing for just 5. We go back to week 1, it's back to a set of 5 for a weight I can do for 8 to 9, but that weight of 8 to 9 has now expanded. So it's like it's this constant expanding bedrock where if you stick to the training and then you have the muscular system supporting the other side because you strengthen the muscular system within certain parameters, it's literally inevitable. And it almost feel like you're not even doing anything sometimes. Like sometimes I go to the gym when I do CNS days, I'm like so relaxed. I'm listening to like an Orthodox Christian podcast about Father Seraphim Rose.
That
like,
should be. It should be. You can have your balls to the walls crazy days.
Yeah.
But I mean, even if you look at the science, especially if you look at the science, I think like you've maxed out the muscular gains like 5 reps from failure.
Yeah.
For like the most, you might get like 2% extra potential gains.
Maybe,
But like
yeah.
maybe if that, you're only pushing your recovery out.
Mhm.
The law of diminishing return when it comes to for everything, like literally everything comes, the diminishing return has a play in it.
Mhm.
But I mean, 4 exercises into the workout, 95% of the gains, why have 10? When
Yeah.
you're only destroying your joints, your tendons, and pushing your recovery out another 48 hours.
Yeah, why are you doing bodybuilding sessions more than an hour?
Yeah.
Like more than an hour is like literally you're just asking the catabolic state to come. It makes no
Oh, yeah.
sense. Like I see doing a 2-hour bodybuilding workout, I'm like, okay, have fun with that, man. Like no.
I'm in the gym for 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
If you're in the gym for 3 hours a day, you're not training the right way. You're not training. You should like. If I was in the gym for 3 hours a day, especially on one of the harder days,
Yeah.
I'd be dead for like half a month.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly too, like me. So if me programming as a powerlifter is gonna look a lot different too, because also the tailoring aspect. Like I give you my workout, I'll go do my workout, but like tailoring around your schedule too. Like there could be days where I give you 3 sessions, so you'd be in the gym 3 hours, but they'd be spaced out. They'd be of certain intensities, probably like a low intensity and a low intensity, maybe a mid intensity. So you'd have like a CNS hypertrophy. You look at old schematics of the Soviet weightlifting team from the Olympic cycle from 1976 to 1980 when they're going to the Moscow Olympics. They're really, really big coming out party. There were phases where they had Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 training sessions. Tuesday, Thursday, 2 training sessions. Saturday, 1 training session.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, nothing. So like, it's a lot more scalable in intensity than people realize. Like those different gears, if you really can master the mind and master those different gears. And even Ed Cohn, who really didn't do a Soviet weightlifting style, but the Soviets love him so much because he was really surgical about the weights he chose. They asked him, what's one thing that you would tell these young athletes? What is the one tip from your illustrious career as being the greatest powerlifter of all time? What is the one piece of advice you give him? I was very, very specific about the weights I chose. I never went heavier than I needed to.
I guess that's it. Hopefully.
Wait, okay, yeah. Well, we still have audio in here. Probably should close it off, I guess.
I guess so.
Guess so.
It's funny. We outworked the camera life.
Amazing.
You know the talks when you just talk and like there's no. I've had some conversation where it's like you get 40 minutes in and then like you can tell like there's just lapses and like especially the quality. Like the more pauses people think about what to say. I mean, I'd say it's warmed up and kept on going.
Yeah, we could have gone on 5 hours.
5 hours.
Obviously,
It's-
we're going to do that.
It will have a lot of things to clip in here, which will be nice. And that's unfortunately people's attention spans. I get most people don't have the time to sit down for like 2 hours straight. You know, stuff might pop up.
Yeah.
I've been liking clipping things, like putting them on there separately.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff on here. It's gonna be fun to listen through.
Dude,
I'll be taking notes as I go through it again.
I'm really excited about this one.